Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk animated shows and movies here. Special Miraculous Ladybug in the Owl House. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. I'm your host, Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by April Collins.
Hi there.
April, take it away with the opening musical number for this podcast.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's all I got.
Okay, yeah. You just have to keep listening to see if this is a musical or not. But we'll be the reason is because we'll be talking about Hazbin Hotel. The first season of it, very exciting, did release the past 3 weeks on Amazon Prime Video. The finale just aired this weekend. A few days later, we are going to be talking about the entire season of Hazbin Hotel. We previously, many years ago, at this point, did a podcast on the pilot of Hasbin, actually, so you can check that out at overlyanimated.com. I did go back and listen to some of that, so I might reference some of our expectations from the pilot many years ago. Only like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I guess.
That was so long ago.
I know, but look, full season of Hasbin, 4 to 5 years later, I'll take it.
Yeah, well, I couldn't remember. I was like, did we do a podcast over the pilot? I honestly don't remember.
You were not on it for some reason, but we did do a podcast on the pilots. I would say we are not like intense Hasbin fans. Like, I know there's some people that are like super into the fandom and everything. I've tried to gauge as much as I can. But, so I apologize if we get anything wrong. That being said, I have watched every episode twice, listened to songs many times. I feel prepared. I think we're going to be able to do it here.
I believe in us.
So hopefully we get stuff right here, but we're very excited to get into it. We will not be getting the spoilers immediately. So if you have not checked out season 1 yet, maybe you like the pilot, but you don't know if you want to watch the whole season of Hasbin, then you can keep listening until I put up the spoiler warning. So our initial thoughts will be spoiler free, but then we will be getting into spoilers for the entire season 1 of Hazbin Hotel. And if you've never heard of this, I mean, you probably have, but this is like, Hazbin was a huge indie animation project. The pilot was on YouTube, has like 100 million views or something. It's really awesome. And this show, then it got picked up by A24, and then now is releasing on Amazon, and has a full season that continues from the pilot. So definitely recommend checking out the pilot.
If you know who A24 is, you know that's a huge deal.
Very, very cool that A24 picked up Hasbin. And just very cool that Hasbin is made it and is a full season. Like the biggest animation indie win of all time, maybe. It's incredible.
No, really. It's insane. I love it so much.
Okay. So that being said, no spoilers yet. April, what did you think of the first season of Hazbin Hotel?
I thought it was, obviously I thought it was incredible. I enjoyed every minute of it. I laughed. I don't know that I cried. Maybe I did, but I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop. The songs are just so catchy and like just so good. And I can't wait until we talk more about like the music and everything like that. I loved the characters. It's definitely an adult show, and while there's like sometimes there's dialogue and things that I'm like that's not to my taste, that like it's okay in the context of like this actually takes place in hell.
Is the humor like too crass for you, or is it your type of humor?
It's like my type of humor. There's like 1 or 2 jokes where I was just like like I'm judging you, but I'm not judging you kind of thing. but I enjoy like I do enjoy like that crass humor too. So like, kind of like Rick and Morty-esque, but maybe not quite as clever, if that makes sense, but still like really good. But yeah, I think it like for something that was like an indie project to get picked up, like it's so well done, and just so impressive. And I like the cast is all good. Like I love the mixture of like people but people you don't know. I think that really like lends to just how well made this was. So highly recommending. I'm recommending the show to everyone. If you're listening to this, obviously you already know what the show like it exists. But if you haven't like watched the full first season, go watch it. It's great.
Nice. Yeah. If you are not a child, I would say, and you can stomach a bunch of cursing, because there's a ton of cursing here.
There's, yeah, it takes you off guard. Like, like I went into it knowing it was an adult show and that there would be curse words, but the first few that get thrown out, I was like, oh,
yeah, it definitely takes a while to get used to. Yeah, you compared to Rick and Morty, there's not this like level of cursing or anything in other adult shows. I will say though, compared to the pilot, I think they toned down the crassness a little bit, despite there being so much cursing. I feel like if you watch the pilot and you're like, okay, these intentionally like offensive jokes is kind of how I describe it. I think there's not that many of them in the show, so I do think they toned it down. Maybe by necessity, maybe they reconfigured. I'm not sure. That worked for me because I think those were a little bit hit or miss in the pilot, but there's still that tone, you know. It's like that yeah, it's like this takes place in hell, all the debauchery you would expect. It's the fun that comes with it, I think, is all there.
Yeah. And some of like it's interesting because I think like one of the most, I don't know that it was like necessarily offensive, but there's like one joke and we can talk about it like once we get into it, but like the context of it, I was just like, oh, like all of this makes so much sense. I was like, I hate this joke, but it makes sense to me.
Okay, remember to bring it up later. I don't know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know if there's one that stands out to me above the others in terms of inappropriateness, so I would be interested. I thought this season was so much fun. I just didn't expect to have so much fun with Hasbin, despite the fact that I liked the pilot, did a podcast on the pilot. I thought it had like a lot of potential. It was really gorgeous. The show like is lives up to that gorgeousness in the animation. Mm-hmm. It's not just that like the Hasbin show got picked up. It's that it's one of the most beautifully 2D animated shows in recent memory.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's an original property. We don't get this. An adult original property with gorgeous 2D animation, like that should be a selling point immediately. That's what we want, and it's so hard to find these days. The songs are a big selling point for me too. I love musical like TV shows, especially. I just think it works really well in this format, and there totally should be more. Hasbin's one of the best I think I've seen in terms of musical, like a musical but on TV. It's not constantly a musical. There's 2 songs per episode.
It's like an organic musical, if that makes any kind of sense. Where like the singing's not forced; it just happens as part of whatever is taking place.
Mm-hmm. And I think a big selling point of the songs, they're really good. They also very intentionally try to advance the plot in the songs, which you don't see a lot. I think that's really cool. It's really fast paced, and bright and fun, engaging, just very fun to watch. The fast pacedness, I wasn't sure I expected so much either. I think 90% it works really well.
Yeah.
And in general, I didn't expect Hasbin to become this like, super exciting serialized adventure show. Like an Avatar type show. Like there's a team of heroes, there's villains. It's like vague spoilers, but there's a big finale battle. Like, I didn't know the show would go here, and it honestly works incredibly well. I was so excited by that. It's that it's like our type of show, like the type of show that this podcast loves. For some reason, Hazbin Hotel with all its cursing and everything is like exactly this type of show.
Yes. It's like the shows we like, but they made it more adult and gave it a more adult theme. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's not and I think there's a lot of depth there behind the cursing and everything. There's a lot of, I think, thematically interesting things, a lot of interesting plot things we're going to speculate on. And that happens at the end of the season. So I really think there's a lot there. I would kind of universally recommend it, assuming you're an adult and can at all handle cursing and like this kind of play on kind of Christian mythology, right? It's like a subversion of what you'd expect. So as long as that can be your thing and you have an open mind to it, I think definitely would recommend to everyone.
Yeah, definitely agree. And if you like musicals.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
I think if you if you don't like musicals, you're not going to enjoy this show at all.
I would say still try it just to see, but yeah. If you at all like music, I think you'll like it. And if you don't, you still might like it anyway. I don't know. I think the non-musical parts are really fun too. Okay, so let's put up a spoiler warning for season 1 of Hazbin Hotel just to be safe. As I was
Spoiler.
As I was already talking about the finale. So spoilers for all 8 episodes of season 1 of Hazbin. Season 2 is coming. So that's already been renewed before.
Did we get a release date yet, or do we just not know?
Of course not. No.
I had a feeling.
And Hasbin was like a year ago. They're like, it's coming out this summer, like summer 2023, and then it clearly didn't. So I don't know. Like I'll believe it when it comes out for season 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Spoilers for all of season 1 of Hasbin starting now. So we talked vaguely, April, but I think 2 big questions, like, what are your favorite parts of the show, if not already mentioned, because we talked about the music and everything, and like, does it live up to expectations from the pilot? I think is a big question. Pilot really good, a lot of people loved it. Do you think it lived up to it?
I think it definitely lives up to the pilot. And I know, like, we had briefly like chatted about this, but you know, the pilot, it like sets it up, but also doesn't, in such a, because obviously like they're produced by 2 different studios, X, Y, and Z. The pilot is great. And I remember like rewatching the pilot after like I had watched all of the first season, and all it did was just get me more hyped to watch the first season all over again.
Yeah, it works really well with the season, right?
Yeah.
I watched it in the middle of the season too.
There was like a couple of things whenever I watched it, and I was just like, oh, I don't know that this necessarily like tracks with like what goes on in the first season.
Yeah,
but
they shifted some things in terms of the world. Yeah.
They definitely like shifted some things, but then like they make vague references to the pilot too, but they're so vague that you like, unless you had like watched the pilot probably in depth like I did, then you probably wouldn't even notice it. And you still get an idea, like, you know what's going on. You don't feel like you're being dropped into this like show and not have any idea like what is happening, especially because that opening sequence of the first episode, not the pilot, where like Charlie's like saying the story about her like Lucifer and everything, like I feel like that gives you just enough knowledge as to what's going on here to like move you into the story and be ready to go. So I think that's like something that like I really enjoyed, was just like that opening part. And then obviously the music is beautiful. I was very surprised by which songs were my favorites and which ones, well, I mean, my least favorite song didn't surprise me, which was Welcome to Heaven. I did not enjoy that song at all.
Interesting. Okay. I think I don't know. I think it's hard to have a least favorite. They're all so good. That's probably like the most basic one. I agree.
Yeah.
But lived like I think. Okay, so first of all, yeah, the pilot. To be clear, like the episode 1 continues from the pilot, but you don't. It's like trying to be its own starting point too, and give people the context. So I think they did a really great job with that. I think the first episode's really good. I hadn't seen the pilot in many years, and then I just cold started watching the show the first day it came out, and I didn't even register that it was continuing from the pilot. I don't know, like I didn't remember where we left off. So I was like, oh, they're like,
register for me either.
So they're like, oh, I was like, oh, they're rebooting it, but then I was talking to Sarah, and she's like, no, it continues. So I was like, oh yeah, I guess it does. Like I guess we're just it's right where it left off, basically. But in terms of does it live up to expectations, I think the season's better than the pilot. I think it exceeds expectations.
No, it's definitely better. And that's not to say that the pilot's not good. The pilot's incredible.
It's incredible. But they go to lengths that like we don't even imagine. I mean, you do imagine because basically, you know, there's all these characters they introduce. Many of them are shown in the pilot. They don't speak. They're just kind of there. So they there's clearly an idea of all these overlords they want to bring into the picture. So it's like this, I think that was in the intended starting point, but thematically, plot wise, for sure, song wise, I mean, I still love Inside Every Demon's a Rainbow. Still maybe my favorite Hasbin song, but in general, I think the songs maybe even exceed what we're doing in the pilot. So the only thing is like visually, the show is beautiful. I think it lives up to it. There aren't as many stylistic go all out sequences as in the pilot.
Yes.
And like, duh, because they spent years making this one episode with the pilot. And when you make a show, you just have to make it in a set amount of time and you got to keep moving. You can't stop and spend like months animating this one sequence. So I think that intro sequence is a really nice stylistic one that you mentioned with the history of heaven. There's a few others, especially the finale. I think is where they put their animation stock into the most. Again, the whole show is beautiful, but I think there are a few more stylistic moments in the finale that are pilot-esque. And I think just the finale itself lives up to the pilot with the music, the animation, everything that you could have ever wanted. I feel like out of a show from the pilot, the finale delivers, and the show as a whole. So, the biggest differences for me were just like I said, less intentionally offensive jokes. Like they shifted the humor a little bit, some of the characters, and then the less stylistic. But that was always going to happen when you make a fuller show. So I'm just so hugely impressed with it. I never expected the show that resulted from that pilot, even as good as that would be this good. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You have to like go into things with an open mind, but there was a part of me that was just like, am I going to be disappointed in this? Like, and then I wasn't. I was extremely happy. Nice. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm not disappointed at all. This is great.
Nice. Any specific favorite parts, starting to get into it? Any favorite character, song, moment, episode that stands out for you particularly?
It's like when I think about things like that, maybe, I don't know if this just like speaks to who I am, but I loved all of the Alastor stuff. Like, nice. I love what they did with his character, and like almost all of my favorite songs include Alastor in it to some degree. But then like my most favorite song doesn't include him at all. And then one of like it's funny because there's like one like the song at the end of episode 6 where it's like that full-blown conversation with like Sarah and Emily and Charlie and everyone.
You didn't know, yeah.
Yeah, that's the name of it. That one, I don't know what it was about it, but I was absolutely blown away by that. And I don't know, that just sequence was just like...
It's the most ambitious song in terms of plot advancement I think I've ever seen. Like, ever in anything. Well, it's remarkable how much plot they stuff into this 4-minute song.
They stuff so much plot into it. And
it could have been an entire season, that one song.
That one song. It could have been an entire season. It could have been like, an entire season. But they do all of this within one song. And it worked so well. Everything like flowed. Nothing about it felt forced. I like that you get like the mixture of like the song styles, like how like Emily and Charlie have kind of like this ballad thing going, and then like Adam interrupts and it's like that rock music again, and then like it switches around and it feels it's smooth, and I loved it. I mean, like I said, it's not my favorite song, but that song just blew me away.
I agree. And it reprises Hell is Forever a little bit. There's a lot of like great, like not fully reprised, but like reprise the chords and stuff from everything that they work into. A lot of these towards the end of the season, extensive songs, like the finale one as well.
Or like how they reuse which one is it? More Than Anything.
Yeah, like we get the full reprise there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree that and episode 6 does stand out, I feel like, as maybe the best episode. We can talk about it more, but I'm on the same page there.
Yeah.
In terms of songs, I'm gonna shout it out pretty quick. Loser Baby.
That's my favorite song. Sorry.
I think it's my favorite too. It's
my absolute favorite song.
I mean, they aired that the first week, so I guess 2.5 weeks ago at this point. Constantly listening since, right? Like I think it's probably the standout song of the show.
I thought that Poison would be my favorite song just because like it has more of like that EDM like electronic music
Mm.
style, and I was like, "Oh, that's going to end up being my favorite song." And then as I was listening to the soundtrack over and over again, I was like, "Nope, it's Loser Baby. 1000% Loser Baby." Like,
It's just a great song. It's a great
mhm.
episode, great character moment, two characters, but moments between those two characters, and just Keith David singing was incredible in that song.
I love Keith David. Oh my gosh. When I heard his voice, I was so excited.
It,
I know.
it and he lived up to it with the loser baby alone.
Yes, he really did. So props to you, Keith David. I know you're listening to this
Oh yeah, I'm
podcast.
sure he is. Happy Day in Hell. I love the first episode. I love Happy Day in Hell. A great
Yes.
successor to Rainbow from the pilot. I love Charlie. I love Charlie in the pilot. I think she's great here. I agree. Alastor is great this season. He was the standout from the pilot, and I think he lives up to it. I think
Yeah.
they gave Angel Dust a lot more than just in the pilot. I mean, he's a
Yes.
standout, but I think they expanded on him, and he's really incredible too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're quickly rolling through the characters, so why not?
That's fine.
Vaggie. I think that she was not really given anything in the pilot, and she does eventually break out here. So I
Yeah.
think that she's big, most improved. I think would be Vaggie, and maybe Nifty as well from the pilot.
And I think it was a smart move to get Stephanie Beatriz for Vaggie too, because she does the role very well. Like, and I was very impressed with Stephanie in her performance in this, especially because we got to hear her sing, and I love her singing voice.
It's interesting how different she sounds from like Encanto, right? So
Yes. Well, and it's also funny because it's almost like she's doing her Brooklyn 911 voice, but then she's just using her Encanto singing voice, like her natural singing voice,
interesting,
which is
nice.
because if you've ever heard her like naturally speak, it's not Brooklyn 911. It's her role of Mirabelle in Encanto. That's her natural voice, which always blows people's minds.
Nice. Sir Pentious was great. We'll go through all the characters.
Yeah.
I think for some reason, this surprised me, but I think Carmilla eventually stands out to me of the side characters. I think I'm a big Carmilla stan. I'll get into that more. I love both of her
Yeah.
songs.
They gave her a lot, and I think that makes it easy because it's easier
She
to
gets
love
she gets more than the other overlords.
yeah, like it's easy to love characters when you get to know them, and so I think that's why like Carmilla like is like I think she's one of my favorite characters too.
Nice.
So yeah, so I'm like, oh, I get it. Lucifer, loved Lucifer.
Lucifer's really good. Yeah.
Absolutely loved him.
The show's ability to bring Lucifer in episode 5, and there is a lot of him in episode 5, but that's all we get, and then he comes in a big moment in the finale, and it feels totally earned, and he's incredible. That's pretty remarkable because he was really just in one episode, but that was such a good episode for him, and the show can do so much in one kind of 22-minute episode.
I was gonna say in his episode, it's like so impressive how much they go through his character, and you see that sort of change. Like, and it's just one episode. It's all self-contained, and you're like, what? Like, you almost get whiplash from it. But I really, really enjoyed it. Like, you understand him so much more. Like, his relationship with Charlie. Yeah, it's a good character.
Yeah.
I loved his design, his crown that was a snake.
Oh, nice. I wanted to point out this before. I think I'd say most similar this show is probably Centaur World. Out of all the shows we've talked about in the past 10 years or something, I really like Centaur World. And both feature Kimiko Glenn, but she doesn't really get to sing in the show. So I'm looking for some nifty singing in season 2.
We need nifty singing.
She's like one line, I feel like, in the finale. But in terms of downsides, very look. 99% positive. I think probably the thing that my least favorite thing or that works the least about the show is that episodes 2 to 7 serves as like a cavalcade of character introductions to side characters. Mostly overlords, but also a ton of other people. I mean, think Mimsy being thrown in there, Rosie in the second to last episode. I would say 60% love these characters that are introduced. 40% why are they here in such a small role would be my reaction. We just spend so much time introducing characters.
We do. Yeah, I agree. But I think that the smaller characters served, for me at least, they served bigger purpose. Like you get kind of more, like with Mimsy, for instance.
Mimsy gives character to Alastor when he was alive. Yeah, I think it was good enough. But
yeah, well, and even like Rosie gives more character to Alastor.
Yeah.
Cherry Bomb gives more character to, I would say, mostly to Angel does.
To Angel, yeah. They're all serving the purposes of main characters. Zestral, I think he gives additional characterization to Carmilla, who's almost a main character. Mm-hmm. But it's like Zestral. I mean, he's in this one episode in such a small role. He's so cool, and he sings for a few seconds, and it's so good. But it's just like, why is he here in such a small role? I mean, I feel like they just, I guess that's the thing of this continuing from the Hasbin pilot, is there's all this lore, not even just in the pilot, but the surrounding lore of the fandom and these other things that they introduced. I'm not even familiar with all of them, but I know all these characters' names were out there, even though they didn't speak in the pilot and stuff. Yeah. And it's like, okay, we have to execute on all of them that we built up during the many years of development. They choose to mostly put everyone in season 1, and it's impressive that it all still works. I'll say ultimately it's impressive, but it's certainly a lot, and I can see that being a turnoff for people. My biggest negative for all the side characters, I think the V's, specifically Vox. What is Vox's purpose this season?
I think to be more like, he's set up as more of like the antagonist to Alastor.
Yes.
Which,
and again, your thing about the side characters being counterparts, that Valentino's set up as a counterpart to Angel Dust, of course. Mm-hmm. Velvet, maybe again Carmilla, I don't know. But
yeah, I think of like the V's, Velvet's probably the weakest of them.
She had a great song though, at least. So.
She had a good song, and I think they were like, we owe her that. Like,
yeah, I just Vox in particular, I just get nothing from him so far. I feel like if you're maybe a fan of this world, you might like Vox more coming in. All he does is just sit there and kind of cackle in the background of the finale. Yeah. I think it's unnecessary. I feel like we could have just not, if this wasn't this show and we didn't have the expectations of the V's and we knew who they are coming in and we set them up to a certain extent in the pilot, I think you maybe hold off until season 2. I think the finale is setting the V's up to be maybe the big bads of season 2. So that's great. I'm excited to get more into them. I'm excited to get more of it. It's just, I'm just not sure I took a lot away from Vox specifically. Velvet she didn't matter that much. She was in that one episode. No. Valentino, I mean, hard to like him, but he serves his role very well in episode 4. So, like, I think he's there with a purpose.
Yeah, I think he's definitely there to be a villain, kind of like Adam. I absolutely hated Adam, and I was like, but that's the point of Adam.
I kind of love Adam.
To like Adam.
Yeah, like in terms of he's such a like broy d-bag, like amazing. Yeah. Like that's such a funny joke that Adam, the first man, would be this broy d-bag like Angel. It's very fun, and I think they execute him on him in a very fun way.
I think it works, and I like that, but I hate the character. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I think I have fun with Adam, whereas Valentino I have trouble having fun with, just because he's like so clearly abusive and stuff, and we're getting into all this.
And I think that's intentional in how they present these characters. Like I feel like Vox could potentially be, like you said, the V's are probably going to be much more of a problem, especially I think Vox and Valentino. Vox doesn't serve as much of a threat almost, but that's not to say, because there's a whole backstory that we don't have yet.
Yeah, and I will say I did like the hinting during his song of the backstory that he asked Alastor to join, and then Alastor said no. So I think there's definitely some interesting stuff there.
And he's obviously obsessed with Alastor to some extent. So whatever took place is significant.
Yeah. Is there an unrequited love there with Alastor? Something like that?
I hope not.
for his sake.
I don't know that Alastor has love in his heart.
No. And that's another fun thing. In episode 7, Rosie explicitly calls out Alastor as Ace in a roundabout way. So yes. I think that's good. In terms of representation, Alastor, great a romantic representation, and Then also Charlie and Vaggie, of course. That's another highlight. How have we not brought them up too?
Loved it. Oh, because we got to save the best for last, right?
For last.
No, not last.
No, we'll get into it. They were great in the pilot, and obviously the thing about Charlie and Vaggie is, by the way, I'm terrified I'm going to start saying Vaggie because they start joking about it at the end of the season, so I'm like, is that in my head? And now I'm going to say...
What is it? At one point, someone calls her vagina, and then in the season finale, she's Vagatha.
Vagatha, yeah, that was good. I love that that Adam was joking about her name. Like it's such a dumb name, such a like kind of. I'm glad we're calling her this out and we're lampshading everything. Her character in episode 6 and onward, I think, was really good.
Yeah, well, it's funny too because with like Vaggie, because they make it a point to hint that she has some type of involvement in heaven, and I didn't catch it until
Carmilla's like, it's so obvious. I was like, I didn't know.
Yeah, well, but then like when I like saw all of the subtle hints, like her character design is totally different.
Yeah.
And then whenever they're getting ready, like they're talking about going to heaven, Lucifer is like, I'm not allowed there. Like, and there's like a specific reason why he's not allowed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then she really doesn't want to go. So that's the
and she's just like, I can't go. Like, I should not be going. And I'm like, that's significant. Like,
yeah, for her. I think character design is tough just because I'll talk about it. I don't understand how the characters work and everything. I don't understand why everyone's an animal. So I can read nothing into that personally.
Are they all animals though?
They're not all animals because Mimsy wasn't an animal, for example.
No, Rosie wasn't an animal. Charlie's not an animal. I guess
the cannibals aren't. Well, so Charlie's different because she's not a soul. Yeah. So Charlie and Vaggie are specifically different. But
I did notice that. What is it? Angel Dust's character body is the same as Valentino. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's because Valentino owns him.
Yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, I assume their appearance shifts at some point when they die going into hell. And how does that... It could manifest at different points. I don't know. They're both bugs, I guess, at least. I'll say the one nice thing about Valentino, he's like a moth and his wings come out at some point. Yeah. It's really cool. It's pretty cool. Okay. Oh yeah, Charlie and Vaggie. Oh yeah. So sorry. The main thing about them is that that's really interesting is that they start the show, even they start the pilot in a relationship. It's like everything we've talked about with Owl House and Lumity, being in a relationship on during the show's airing, and that's pretty uncommon and revolutionary, especially for a queer ship. All of that applies, and then some to here because their entire presence as a couple is as an established couple, and that's really cool to see again, especially for a queer couple.
They're like a well-established couple.
And yeah, they're
3 years
they say 3 years. Yeah, they're living sleeping in the same room, and they have their all routines together and everything.
Yeah,
and love all the details with that. And it's coming out of the pilot, we're like, okay, when are they gonna kiss and everything? Right, they're already together. And
we still had to suffer through that.
The whole even though they're together, we still have to wait the whole season. But I like the balance of they could have kissed at any point, obviously, and there's a kiss in the cheek or something at one point. But we could have done it at any point, but we still get that romance build up arc within the season. I think that's what they're going for, and then we get to see it at the end in this culminating song and kiss in the finale with the More Than Anything reprise. Loved that moment. Loved them together, and we got into more depth in the last 2 episodes. I think with the reveal about Vaggie, we saw them meeting and after Vaggie's backstory. And so I thought they were great this season, especially towards them.
Yeah, and I like that. That's an established their relationship is so very well established, and it plays into it. Like Charlie trusts Vaggie to get everyone to bond, or you know what I mean? She's her second in command essentially in this, even though Alastor thinks he is, but Vaggie has more power over the situation than anyone else. And I think that, man, I just loved that. It was just a normal, this is just life. And I love that, like, Lucifer's like, oh, you like girls? Me too. Like, we have that in common.
Oh yeah, that was a good that was a pilot-esque joke, but it was not
Yeah.
very not in the offensive variety. I thought that was funny for sure.
No, that I was gonna say that's like one of the jokes that they make about their relationship that I was like, I liked that because I thought it was sweet. But then the other joke that they make is between Lute and Adam, and Lute's like, your relationship is sinful, and I was like, wow, you would say that, wouldn't you?
And Adam's like, it's hot as fuck, though,
but it's
right?
yeah.
I thought that was funny too.
I was like, it's funny. I hate this joke, but it's so funny.
Okay, is that the one you meant before?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that is like the most like closest offensive, but yeah, it's like clearly the show knows that like with Adam, it's like they have fun with him and they're showing that he's clearly like a D-bag a-hole. Like he's
such a dick bag.
Dick bag.
And I'm the entire time I'm just like, why is this man in heaven? I don't understand.
Yeah, well, I think, and I'd like that they turn that into a plot point. It's like, I mean, maybe he was better in the past, or maybe not, but
like it's been a few millennia, and he's only evolved into this monster.
or maybe heaven was a lie all along, and he never deserved to go to heaven, and yeah, and it's really the ultimate feminist joke that not joke, but like a joke about how it's feminist that the first man is like the ultimate bro. It's a very great concept. I think he was great. We were talking about Charlie Vaggie. Should we get more into what do you want to do? Do you want to talk more about the finale and everything that happened there?
We can, because the finale raises. I mean, those last. Like, episode 6 and the finale raised so many questions for me.
Yeah, let's get into theme stuff. I agree.
Okay.
We can come back to hit the characters we didn't hit on as much. Justice for Serpentius. We'll talk more
okay,
about
but first off, we can start with that.
Because he dies and then goes to heaven.
He goes to heaven. And so
by the way, I love that as a coda to the season, a really interesting, intriguing thing to end the season on that culminates a lot of the themes. Like, yes, redemption possible. Yes, Serpentius' character. Great moment to end the season.
Well, and whenever you think on it too, because back in episode 6, they say, well, what does it take to get into heaven? How does...
Yeah, and we have Adam's weird checklist,
Yeah, we get Adam's weird checklist, and they're like, well, Angel just marked off all those things, and they're like, but it doesn't matter, it's bigger than that. And then we go through the song, and we find out that they don't even know how to get into heaven. And so then, if you, like, think back on Serpentius, he checked off all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, he stands up to the man with Adam at the end.
Yeah,
right?
He stands up to the man with Adam. He sacrifices himself. So he selfishly sacrifices himself. I can't remember what the other thing was.
Yeah, I know.
Don't steal. I mean, I don't know that he ever stole anything. So
Adam's list was dumb to begin with, but yeah, I think he satisfies
I guess he stole a kiss from Cherry Bomb, but does that count?
That's a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm so curious to see where that goes. Like, does Emily then, because obviously Emily is on Charlie's side, so does Emily then try to make contact with Charlie?
So what do you think of Emily and Sarah? So they're the Seraphim. I think they're presented as, by the way, one note that I was rewatching the end of the first episode. They say the angels created Adam. No mention of God. I don't think there's God in this world. I think
think there is either.
Yeah, I think the angels. So I think, is Sarah the closest thing to God? Like, I think that as far as we know, she's they say Sarah and Emily are the Seraphim. They're the highest angels as far as we know. They could always introduce someone above it later. I don't know. But like, Sarah seems to be in charge from what we know.
Sarah seems to be in charge. And I also wondered if, like, they chose not to have a god for specific reasons, because that's just like something you just don't want to get into kind of sometimes. Like,
I like this spin on the Christian mythology.
I like it. I do too.
Not including God, you separate, you keep the mythology separate from the religiousness. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good move.
I think it is too. I think, and I like that we're able to sort of rebuild the mythology of the religion, if that makes sense.
Right. It has its own kind of spin on it. Now, granted, I'm Jewish. I don't know a lot of this mythology, to be honest. But
I was raised in a Catholic household, and so I'm very familiar with a lot
Okay.
of these things. And I'm not Catholic. I'm more agnostic than anything. If even that.
We
And
get the like Lilith version
yeah,
of
like
the story.
when I was rewatching with a friend, who I'm guessing like they didn't grow up in like a very religious household or anything like that, and they're like, "Wait, Lilith?" And I was like, "Yeah, like Lilith was the first woman before Eve." But then she was cast out because like her and Lucifer were like a thing. And then Eve was created from Adam. And they were like, I did not know that. And I was like, oh, I thought everyone knew that. I was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. Or no, like in terms of like people knowing that. So I like that like we're working with like unknown like pieces of it. But yes, so Seraphine and Emily are like the highest powers, which yes, love it. I'm here for it. But
It is interesting with Emily. It's episode 6 ends with Emily so clearly supporting Charlie, and then it just the status quo just reverts, which is pretty shocking in that moment, but also feels realistic. That they would try to bring things back to where they are. But then it's going to be forcibly shaken up with Serpentis being there and Adam dying. I mean, of course. So, where's Emily going to go? Where's Sarah going to go?
Well, I was going to say, and where, like if Charlie or even like Lucifer were to die, where would they go? You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, by the way, one of my questions, in terms of general mythology surrounding the show, they have the execution, the extermination every year.
mm-hmm.
What happens to the souls in hell that die from the extermination? Are they gone forever? Do they go back to hell?
Well, especially because Serpentis goes to heaven.
So is that's an exception? But doesn't that mean you would think that the souls in hell that get exterminated do not come back because they're trying to solve overpopulation. So that wouldn't solve anything if they just go back to hell.
Yeah, well, and if they do an extermination every year, like you would think that would be, unless it's like instead of like, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but maybe like the opposite of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's unclear.
So,
I think that there's some things about the mythology I wish they would like explain a little more, but maybe they will be revealed in time as part of twists or expansions. We mentioned, why are they animals? Is everyone who dies a demon that goes to hell? Is everyone in hell a demon, or just some?
Well, because they refer to most everyone as a demon, but then you have the overlords. So,
like Alastor is definitely a demon, but is Angel Dust a demon? I don't think it matters. But
yeah, well, but they call him the porn demon, which I was just like, okay, I think
colloquy wise, they're known as demons.
But then like Husk used to be an overlord, so is he like the gambling like a gambling demon, or
yeah? And I think I feel like Alice. I don't think my impression. Alastor's the radio demon. I don't think there's just a demon of a object or like a thing, like gods in some like Eastern countries. There's like a god of the sea. I don't think that's how it works. I think Alastor just branded himself as the radio demon. I think that's his doing. I don't think he's innately the demon of radios. I think that was his shtick because we get his backstory from Mimsy, that he broadcast the executions on the radio, which by the way I forgot, but we do also get that backstory in the pilot. So I guess we're just expanding.
We do, and I liked that there was a similarity between the 2 backstories.
Yeah, well, it's the same backstory, but it's
but like the animation style kind of was very similar, because I remember watching it in the pilot and I was like, I've watched this before just recently. Nice, like very recently. But yeah, so I don't understand, because Alastor isn't like an animal, so but Husk is a cat.
I thought he was a wolf, but they say cat at the.
How did Fat Nuggets get down there?
Yeah, what's up with Fat Nuggets? Good question.
There's roaches. That makes sense.
What do you think? What do you think? I guess that makes sense. What do you think of what the show has to say about redemption in the season, with Penchas being there at the end? with this questionable morality system surrounding heaven? Is it just all like a satire of like a heaven and a hell and sorting people into good and bad and how ridiculous that is? Is that what we're going for ultimately?
I mean, kind of. That's what it kind of feels like if we're gonna look super deep into it. But yeah, because if I mean, and depending on like your beliefs or how you grew up or whatever, like everyone should have the ability to be redeemed. Is kind of what they're saying. That even if you lived a sinful life in your afterlife, why couldn't you still be redeemed? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's what we're like getting at with like Serpentius going into heaven after he's killed again. So it's
And
almost like second chances are very
yeah.
possible.
Yeah, and that's that's everything Charlie's going for. And honestly, it's in theme with like Christian like beliefs, right? So I like the spin on
Yeah.
the Christian mythology and yeah, it's a great ending to it. It leaves it up in the air. I feel like my ultimate takeaway, and this is almost only after, I mean, I guess I get it from episode 6 for the most part, but I also after thinking about it a lot more, I feel like heaven and hell really just in the show just serve as like systems of power.
Yeah.
Like heaven is just like the people with power, and hell are disenfranchised people that they kind of cast out. There's this element of sorting, like, and like people genuinely seem to be dying and then they go to heaven or hell. So there's like some like actual component that kind of complicates it. But in the end of the day, thematically, I feel like what the show's going for is the kind of privileged people in heaven and those without power in hell and how they respond. And I really like this direction that we went in. And I guess that brings me to my analysis of Sarah, who I'm very interested in for next season.
I'm so interested in her. Like,
Here's
I want to see more.
here's my Sarah theory /
Okay.
my take. Tell me if you agree. I think Sarah is evil. I think she's just evil. I think she's the big bad. I think she's like she presents herself as a reluctant leader who has to make a decision to commit terrible violence in episode 6. I feel like to me this is just so reminiscent of leaders in our world who present themselves as these reluctant people. Oh, think of every single United States president. Oh, we to protect our people, we have to send a drone and kill all these people.
It's she's manufacturing a threat that doesn't exist.
I think so. Think of insert current genocide and leader of that genocide and their rhetoric. It's all the same. Sarah's so reminiscent, I believe intentionally on the show's part, of these people. And she paints it as like, oh, Adam, you presented me with this decision and I reluctantly went along with it. I guess my theory is that, Adam is like a patsy and she wanted to do this purging of hell all along.
Yeah. Like, and it's, especially because at no point, especially including in the beginning, has there ever been talk of hell trying to raise an army against like heaven? Like they
allude to like, oh, they were going to rise up against us. I don't know how real that is. That could be a manufactured threat, from Sarah.
Yeah, and that's what like I guess like I'm getting at is that like they're saying it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. And the fact that she didn't want anyone else to know about the executions speaks so much about her intentions with all of this.
Big red flag.
Huge red flag, because she didn't want anyone else to know about it.
Even her fellow, like if Sarah's God, even her co-God, she didn't want to know about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Like her, whatever, like apprentice or whatever Emily is to her. And so like she didn't want anyone to know about that. And it's not like it's one, because even with like Lucifer, he never like he started with wanting to do something better for everybody, for all of the souls, and they cast him out. But at no point has Lucifer ever said anything along the line, because if anyone was going to try and raise an army against hell,
he definitely hasn't.
Like he would have tried to have done it already, wouldn't you think?
It's a good point that I don't know if we see any proof of this supposed army rising up.
Yeah,
again, very reminiscent of real world things.
And even with like Charlie going to Cannibal Town, she had to convince those people to fight against the angels. I mean,
That's another good evidence too. Yeah, they weren't
like,
innately bloodthirsty to the angels.
They never, not a single person, soul, whatever, demon in hell has ever talked about rising up against heaven. Not even the V's. The V's talked about like ruling hell.
V's want to rule hell. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
But no one has ever said anything about wanting to rise up against heaven.
Unless this is Alastor's ultimate intentions, which are vague. That could be a thing. But I like where you're going with this for sure.
Yeah. So again, it's very much a manufactured threat that she's presented, and like, why wouldn't she give that, like, present that to Adam, use him as a patsy to like be in charge of this? Like, she gets to kind of like wash her hands of the situation until she doesn't, obviously, and
she wants to look good to Emily, to her people. Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's all just like, she could be like a true evil, and that would be a very interesting way, because isn't that what like most villains are? Is they're trying to shape the world into what they believe is right. So I guess in her mind,
that's good analysis. And isn't that what the heaven and hell system is, shaping the world into what you think someone constitutes going to heaven?
Yeah. So, and then I guess like in her most perfect world, like hell, according to the mythology that they gave us at the beginning of the show, hell didn't even exist until they had to cast Lucifer out.
Yeah.
So
that's true. There was no concept of people sinning until they created one. Until
they created it. So that must have happened. So was she like in charge of that?
Until Lucifer introduced free will, I guess, also. That's another component.
Yeah, because he introduced free will, and she was like, nah, fam, we can't have that.
Yeah, not great. I'll say, all this being said, Sarah, really interesting character to me. I'm not saying I hate her as a character. I think she's for a character who's been in like an episode and a scene, fascinating character.
Yeah.
So
like I want to see what we do with her.
For sure.
And then in comparison with Emily, because
and the fact that Emily seems so genuinely purely good, despite also being a powerful figure. That's a really interesting take. Mm-hmm. Although you could argue, how much power does she truly have if she didn't even know about the extermination?
Yeah.
So I would love to see Charlie and Emily team up again in the future. I think that was great in episode 6.
Yeah, and there's a lot of similarities between Emily and Charlie too.
Yeah, like, I agree. Any romantic competition to Vaggie with Emily?
I don't want competition. I just want a 3-way. Like, can we have the throuple? Because
throuple. Okay.
Look, no competition. I'm not here to pit anybody.
Did you interpret? Did you see Emily and Charlie? You ever think of that before I mentioned it?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
I was like, ooh, I love this, like this dynamic. And then I was like, but it could be more. We could have the throuple.
Look, we didn't get our throuple in Ladybug, so let's get it in the show.
Yeah, give me the throuple.
Emily, another fascinating character. She was really likable. I wanted the other part, my Sarah's evil. And by the way, I don't know if the show's saying anyone is truly evil or anything. It's just she has like really hidden bad intention is maybe a better way of putting it. The other thing is I want to contrast Sarah to Carmilla, I was initially kind of turned off by because she's presented as like an arms dealer, and it's like, arms dealer bad, like in my head. So but the show pretty painstakingly presents her as, she's only doing this to arm her people, to protect her people.
Yeah.
And when you think of this heaven and hell not as a good and bad, but as a power and marginalized dynamic, I think that Carmilla starts to shine through as she's like a leader of a marginalized people who are protecting her vulnerable people. Versus like this portrait of Sarah as this powerful figure, using this excuse of I need to protect people in hell as an excuse to commit atrocities against protect her people in heaven against so Sarah, Carmilla, because she's like a marginalized, there's no power there, even though she's power within hell. She actually is protecting people who need her protection. Sarah's people don't need the protection in the way she's doing it, and she's using it as an excuse to commit violence.
Yeah, and it's also so interesting too when you think about the landscape of hell, because she's an arms dealer, yes, to the people of hell, but it's not so that they can rise up against like heaven or anything like that. It's
Yeah, and
because
she wanted to not give that information specifically. It's so that they can protect themselves.
She wanted to hide that because, and this is something that they mention in the pilot, but they don't necessarily mention in the show, in like the first season, is that there's turf wars, and that's a huge like aspect
protect themselves against other overlords and demons. That is one aspect I thought they changed from the pilot. They did not say the word turf wars at all this season.
Yeah.
I think it fits with what we're going for. So Rosie does mention there's this power vacuum that you can move in. So that's basically would be like a turf war. They just lay off the turf war language and they go heavy on the overlord language. I don't think overlord existed before. But I think it they maybe said it once.
Because Rosie like alludes to it when she's talking to Alastor. She's like, "Oh, there's all these lands up for grabs."
Yeah. So I agree. The concept is still there. So yeah, they protect themselves against dangers and against the other. In this.
Well, but it sounds like they don't even use that to protect themselves against angels. It sounds like the executioners just come down and just wreak havoc, and it's not like the people of hell are necessarily trying to defend themselves, and they make it such a point to say how easy it is for them to kill the executioners, and no one knew about it except like Camilla.
Right, they weren't even trying to fight back.
They never, like, even Vaggie, who was an executioner, didn't even know how she could be defeated.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think that's another like thing to point out in like the, I guess, I don't know, the argument against like Sarah is that hell has literally had no interest in.
They weren't trying to fight back. Exactly.
Yeah, they've never fought back. Like the most that they could do, and that's where like Vox kind of comes in, because he had exploited the fact that the people of hell have felt defenseless. And so that was like what he was like, oh, like our new angel, like protection system, like, so he would provide like technology or whatever, or means to protect themselves, but not like fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. I take it back a little bit about Carmilla because, you're a good point. They weren't trying to fight back against Heaven. So she is trying to arm overlords and their soldiers to fight against each other. Not necessarily the most noble, but still, she's ultimately trying to protect her people. And the reality is they're in hell and their conditions are so bad and everything. Yeah. Okay. All really interesting stuff. And Pench's showing up there and how that's going to play out. I mean, we can start with that in terms of questions in terms of what's going to happen in season 2.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder things like, if Angel Dust were to die, is he going to heaven too?
I think he would go to heaven. Yeah.
Right. So. Maybe even Husk. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. We'll say we did not get as much Husk as I wanted this season outside episode 4.
I think we got a fair amount of him though, because we do get a little bit more about him in like episode 5 as well.
Yeah, and his why he's under Alastor's thumb and stuff. Yeah, I think there's some good stuff. I'm not convinced he's redeemed yet. Not that, I mean, why does he need to be redeemed? He's not hurting anyone. Actually, I take that back. He shouldn't have been in hell in the first place.
Yeah,
from what we can see,
he just had a gambling problem. Does that make you a sinner? I don't know.
I guess according to Christian mythology,
Look, we don't know. Okay, no, the people in heaven don't even know.
Yeah, so how Pench's, I mean, will we start to see more people like Pench's showing up? I think one of my theories is that we're going to start seeing a lot more patrons of the hotel as season 2 opens, just because they got such good press at the end, and the hotel looks really cool now and stuff. They know they can fight back. Not even just necessarily about being redeemed, but Charlie is like this powerful figure now, so I feel like they'll want to be with her at the hotel. And
I think that's why, like, the ending fight scene and like her song, like Am I Ready or whatever it's called, I can't remember, in episode 7 or Ready for This,
yeah,
and it's alluding to a lot of the fact that she's the princess of hell, and yes, while Lucifer still exists, she's coming more into a leadership role, and I think that like that really shows too in like that final fight scene. Like she's there with with the whole team fighting the I guess she's shooting fireworks at them, which is extremely adorable.
She was fighting. She was fighting.
She was fighting, yeah. I did or what is it, whenever they first show her, I was like, girl, you only got a sword or a shield? What are you doing?
Yeah, I guess she has magic though.
Yeah, she has, well, and she's Lucifer's daughter, so
yeah, whatever that entails, magic power wise, I don't know.
I liked the transformation sequence.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the show makes a big point of her coming into her own as a leader. And taking on her power and responsibilities as the Princess of Hell. And yeah, we'll probably continue to see that arc. So yeah, we'll see how Penchas, do they hide him away? Is he just there? How the people of Heaven react? I mean, really, we've only seen Heaven in one episode, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
We don't know these inner workings beyond just Sarah and Adam, who's gone. By the way, so Lute in charge of the Exorcist. Now, by the way, the Exorcist's all female, which I didn't pick up on until pretty late in my rewatch. Mostly just because they're all wearing masks, I guess. Is this...
it's interesting that they're all wearing masks, but then, like, Adam's wearing a mask, too. So is that because, like, Sarah doesn't want the people to know that Adam's involved? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
maybe. I don't know.
But
Adam probably just thinks it's cool, but yeah, maybe they're trying to hide.
He probably does.
And he's right. No, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool look. So the Lute in charge will be interesting. Again, Lute just like until the very end, such a nothing character. There's just so much going on. There's all these very sparsely presented characters.
Her scene with Lilith at the end had she's like.
Let's talk about that scene.
Okay, can we?
Lute goes to Lilith shows up, by the way. If Lilith didn't show up at the end, we're going to spend this whole podcast talking about Lilith theories. I was definitely thought she would be in play.
I'm still curious about Lilith. So
we can still talk about Lilith theories. Lute says, Adam's dead. Your deal is done. I'm in charge now. And you need to go stop Charlie if you want to stay here in heaven.
Yeah. And what does that mean? Your deal is done.
So she had a deal with Adam, I guess.
Yes.
In order for her to stay in heaven. Why she wants to stay in heaven, what the component of that deal was beyond just staying in heaven, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and something that's been in the background is we've been wondering where Lilith has gone.
Yes.
And no joke, my first watch through, I forgot that Lilith was Charlie's mom. So whenever Lute said, go take care of your brat of a daughter, I was like, what?
Oh no. Yeah, no, she's very much a background presence until then there. But Charlie says she's been gone 7 years.
And Alastor disappeared 7 years ago.
For 7 years, yes.
So
I think
happened?
first of all, let's say this. I didn't come up with this. I did see it, I think, in the comments of the pilot YouTube video or something at some point. Definitely people think, who has Alastor on a leash? Lilith. That's what a lot of people think.
That makes a lot of sense. And that was what I was starting to wonder, too, after my second watch through.
Does it make less sense after the finale, though? The 7 years thing lines up, but Lilith had a deal with Adam. So Lilith, I don't know if she was on a leash of her own, but it doesn't seem like she's hiding away. It doesn't seem like she's super in charge of anything. At least that's what we think right now. She's
not in charge of anything, and she's very much out in the open in heaven, or what we are assuming is heaven, because I don't really know where she is. Because when you think about...
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I assumed that was heaven.
Well, when you think about... See, I have this problem where I...
This is a good point. This is very smart because we go from Sir Penchas. Clearly, this is in heaven. By the way, Sir Penchas arrives in front of Sarah and Emily. Whereas
Emily's hype.
Yes. Emily's hype, but Saint Darren Chris is welcomes them at the heaven's gates. So I don't know why Penchas didn't go to the gates. Anyway, we go from that scene in heaven to where Lilith is in a very dreamy place. So I assumed that was heaven. I didn't even think until you just said it that might not be heaven. Well,
because I pay too close attention. It's my problem, because there's a very distinct style to how hell looks and has managed like the landscape, like the color schemes and things like that. And we were in heaven, and what heaven looked like and its sort of like landscape and everything does not look the same as where Lilith was, which is why I am like,
well, do you think she's in hell, or do you think she's on like an Earth beach?
She could be at a Earth beach, purgatory. I don't know.
Oh, we could bring purgatory into play. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So, but
I like this theory. Lilith isn't in heaven at the end.
She's not in heaven because Adam obviously does not have enough authority to bring Lilith into heaven.
So you think this was a side deal away from Sarah?
Mm-hmm. Because Luke is the person who's coming to Lilith. Like Sarah's not coming to Lilith. So I think this was like a side deal situation that Luke obviously knew about because she seemed to be like Adam's second in command in terms of the executioners. And so I think this is like a side quest that's taking place, but Lilith had some type of deal with Adam, and because he's dead, that's gone. So, and like Luke obviously can I guess call Lilith out like, hey Sarah, guess who I found? Like,
yeah, she could use it with Sarah. Mm-hmm. What is Lilith gaining? So she is hiding away. Was she being hunted before? Does she gain protection? Because
we don't know. Because she's obviously in hiding. Because Lucifer doesn't know where she is.
I don't know what she's gaining because it does not seem like Lucifer is in danger. So I don't know why Lilith would be in danger sitting in hell.
Well, because I can't help but like the 7-year thing just weighs on my mind so heavy.
I think we're missing a piece. There seems to be something 7 years ago.
Something happened 7 years ago, but it's also very interesting too how attached Alastor is to Charlie. So
yes.
Which is why like I like your like idea and theory of Alastor being owned by Lilith.
Yes, so the theory goes that's why Alastor is helping Charlie and he's commanded to protect her. So that's why he's in the hotel.
Yeah. But he's only just shown back up, which is even like more
which is kind of where was he for 7 years?
Yeah, no one knows. That's the thing.
So if he made that deal 7 years ago, or maybe he only made it now, I don't know. But yeah, that's because this is another big question. And I re-listened to the podcast on our pilot. That was my number one big question out of the pilot 5 years ago. Why is Alastor here helping Charlie?
Yeah.
We don't really get an answer this season, except in maybe episode 7 during the song. Ready for this. Rosie and Alastor talk about they like Charlie's potential. It's a good move for Alastor to be guiding to hedge his chips in with Charlie.
Yeah.
So that is like ostensibly a surface level motivation for Alastor is that he thinks that this is like a political smart move to back Charlie in his quest to be the dominant overlord or whatever.
Yeah.
But I certainly doubt that's the full story here.
And the only reason like I like that theory, the only reason why I don't is because Alastor doesn't seem too interested in being like a territorial overlord, if that makes sense. Because
maybe his aims are even higher.
Yeah. Well, and it could also be that if he gets in good with Charlie, then like maybe Charlie can convince Lilith to set him free or something along those lines.
Right. So maybe he's not even commanded to protect Charlie, but in episode 7, they make a deal and Alastor gets a favor from Charlie. So this favor could be to help with Lilith, who he has a deal with. So that is possible.
Well, and it's interesting to note too that he was willing to make the deal that he gets a favor and he can't harm anyone because of it.
Okay, good.
Means to say that he has no intentions of really hurting anybody.
It seems like the number one idea from what this favor will be is that it's tied to him being leashed. This favor will help him in some way unleash himself.
Especially because in the finale like song number, he's singing about wanting his freedom and like
and in that finale, he's like, they're like, he's that's why he implies he's going to take over everything, or like he's very menacing there. He's like, once I'm free, look out. Like, so that's why, because I agree, it doesn't seem like he wants territory anymore,
no.
but I think he has big aims based on that finale song.
But what his big game is, we don't know.
Yet. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think we've mostly powered through these questions. I like everything we have left here. I think it's all very intriguing. I like all what's being left in the air. I will say, I think we should find out soon why Alastor is helping Charlie, just because we've been sitting with that since the pilot. I don't think that should drag on too much longer. But I'm okay with it going into season 2.
I will say that in the pilot, they make it a note because Alastor's just like, no, I'm here because I love watching people fail. And like, I love, I feed off of like people getting up, like basically like getting their hopes up and then like not succeeding or something along those lines. And they carry that over from the pilot into, because whenever Charlie's upset and she's crying in bed, Alastor's like, she's just like, shut up, you've only cared about this place failing ever since the beginning.
Yeah, and he says no, and no. I love the explanation of his smile. And like it's like a power move. I loved that part too.
Yeah.
And Charlie, like, what did you say about smiles? I thought all that was great. Okay, side note, but related to this, other criticism I have of this episode 6 song moves really fast. Like I said, 90% good. Here's what I didn't like rewatching. It stood out to me. Is we end that song, You Didn't Know, with Adam's like, I'm next extermination, I'm coming for you guys first. And so that's the plot impetus for episode 7 and 8. We need to protect ourselves against Adam.
Mm-hmm.
I think this doesn't make sense. Maybe you can tell me something I'm missing. I don't think this makes sense with the beginning of episode 6, where Sarah says, Adam, you made a mess. I have Lucifer calling me. Now we have to set up this meeting with Charlie. There seems to be some reverence for Lucifer. They are not going to try to kill Lucifer. Lucifer can command this meeting, and this is a mess of Sarah now. Why would Adam go after Charlie? Charlie's the princess of hell. Like, Sarah's just going to let Adam go try to kill. I mean, I don't think Adam was intending to kill Charlie specifically based in that fight, but going for, like, they go from a court case to you're all going to die now in the next extermination. I thought that didn't make a lot of logical sense in terms of how it came out. I think,
well, and if you think about it, whenever the exterminations began and whenever Lucifer was cast out of heaven, it was before Charlie was born. So I'm kind of led to believe that some type of deal was struck. It's like, oh, hey, Lucifer, you can, like he still has his angelic powers, obviously, because he says that. But like there must have been something that was kind of like struck where it was just like, hey, we're going to come down and do these executions, but we still need someone in charge of this place. So you're protected.
Yeah, I got the same impression. Yeah.
So like he's protected, but like, what are we assuming? Charlie's, I don't know, 20 something, right? So Charlie's only been around for 20 whatever amount of years.
You know, Lucifer, this Lucifer Lilith thing happened 10,000 years ago. Charlie could be very old.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. She could be, but at the beginning of the deal, Charlie wasn't there. Yes.
So is Charlie protected? It's a good question. So regardless, it's just weird because Sarah is deferential to Charlie in 6, and then in the beginning of 7, Adam's knocking down the door. So you might say, okay, Adam's doing this without Sarah's knowledge. Yes. Adam just, but like, there's Sarah time before first of all, Sarah should know about that. There's time. Yeah. Charlie could call Lucifer and say, hey, Adam's threatening us. Call Sarah and say, shut that down. That never happens. Why is this not happening?
I think it's because of some type of written thing. Because even like Lucifer was just like, I can only help you so much. I can't help you completely with this. Like, because if Lucifer probably had any power to get rid of the exterminations, I have no doubt that he probably would have done it.
He only has so. That's a good point. He only has so much power. Yeah. Last thing. This could be further proof for the Sarah's evil theory because it doesn't really make sense that Sarah wouldn't know after she was just there. And she witnessed this in the courtroom. Like Adam does this without Sarah's knowledge. So maybe Sarah does know and is just pretending she doesn't know because she actually endorses Adam's actions here. And she would love to see Charlie out of the picture.
Like she would love to see Charlie out of the picture because one, she knows that Charlie's not under whatever protection. But also, maybe she took that, like Adam saying, I'm coming after like you first, meaning he's not going after Charlie specifically. He's going after the hotel. And that's kind of like...
Yeah, which I think is probably what the show's trying to do. But it's still weird to me that they're showing the hotel as evidence and then actually we're just going to kill you all.
Yeah. And the... Adam says something very interesting when he's facing off with Charlie.
He says you would risk your immortality. Yeah.
Your immortality, which
so he wasn't. I believe that implies he wasn't going to kill Charlie, but she's standing with them.
Yeah, or that he can't kill Charlie because of who her father is.
Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah.
So he could, he could just have a jolly good time. That's a terrible way to say that, but he could have a jolly good time just torturing her the entirety of the execution, while the executioners take out the hotel and then go for everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, you guys have fun doing that. I'm going to go play with this plaything. Terrible way to phrase that.
Probably the intent. And even if you explain that Sarah's evil and stuff, it's like Lucifer could have tried to do something about it. We don't even call Lucifer; he just shows up there at the end. I would have liked to have seen a scene of Lucifer, but it would have ruined the moment when he's shown up. Yeah. But he needed to do something before them. But that being said, his moment when he shows up is very good.
And it feels very earned. But he does also explain, like, I tried to do this before and it didn't work.
Yeah. So maybe he's just depressed and he doesn't want to try again, but like he could have tried again if Charlie called him. Did Charlie call him? Did he try again? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and obviously he's in some state of depression because he's like, when Charlie calls him, he goes, take that depression.
Yeah, which was a good line. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of the finale, other big things from the finale we haven't hit on yet. We talked about the Lucifer comes in. Before that, Adam takes down Alastor.
Does he take him down, or does he just hurt his pride a little bit?
Alastor fled. My second viewing, he broke his staff thing, and that seemed to be the source of a lot of his power. Well, and so then he had to flee.
Well, it's interesting too because I don't know if anyone else heard this, but his voice was different after his microphone staff was broken.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's not talking out of the radio speaker anymore.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's what I heard, but I was just like, oh, why do I love this so much?
And the effect goes off sometimes. It's really cool in like key moments or something.
Yeah. But it's also, it's interesting too, because he does flee. The only people who really know about it are the V's because they're watching it.
Yes. But then he comes back at the end, so they see that he's back during finale.
Yeah.
The hotel people. But that was a fun fight. And Adam breaks his bubble before. Penchus kisses Cherry finally, and then goes after Adam and then dies.
He was trying so hard. I was rooting for him.
The Penchus Cherry stuff in 6 is so good. Will you do a sex with me?
Can I?
Because I'm having
drink?
Sex with everyone here. That gag was really good.
I loved it. I loved it so much. It was great. Well, and I like that she's like, why would you buy me a drink if I'm your greatest enemy?
Because I'm buying a drink for everyone. Yeah, that's great.
Also, the club that they went to was called Consent, and they talk about it too. They're like, what a great name for this club.
That's good. The Penchus cherry bomb stuff, I think, was really good payoff for the pilot. Not payoff, but just continuation of it. That was fun. Penchus, it was so good. I thought he was a great character. I love that he's the one that gets to go to heaven.
Me
His
too.
big moment with Cherry was great. She was into it at least a little at the end, so that was
Yeah.
good.
She was like, "That's kind of hot." Yeah, it was.
After that, Charlie goes. So she's like demon mode, and she gets razzle and dazzle and turns
hmm
into dragons. Again, razzle and dazzle. I barely knew they existed before this.
Yeah.
Lucifer does call them out in episode 5. He's like, "Oh, you guys are still small," so that's the setup. But yeah, then we love them, even though they're
Yeah.
barely on screen. We love razzle and dazzle. Loot versus Vaggie, and Vaggie eventually traps her under the rubble.
hmm
Rips her own arm off to flee, so Loot is armless.
Yeah.
Although Vaggie grows back her wings in the previous episode after Loot cut them off in the flashback, so maybe they can regrow stuff. But probably wings more likely than arm. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, unless like it's what is it? Like the concept of like you have to earn your wings kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like
it did seem very convenient moment for her to get the wings back. It's true.
Yeah. Like which I mean to Camilla's, I guess the effect of Camilla's point is that like if you're not doing it like for love, then like you're not really fighting this battle kind of situation because it kind of like
by the way, this whole Carmilla versus Sarah and this thing I was talking about definitely enhanced by that the episode 7 song that leads into it, because it's like you have to fight for love and protecting your people, not out of hatred.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that's a theme the show is going for. The Charlie faces off against Adam, then Lucifer comes, and then Adam's defeated by Lucifer, and then Nifty stabs him.
Love it. I was like, where's Nifty going to come in on this? Because she's chaotic. And then when she was the person to stab Adam, I was like, yes. And I love that what's her face was just like, when the custodian was asked about this, she said, Charlie told me to stab him. So I did.
Great Nifty moment.
Yeah.
Nifty, I think all in all, very fun, just like kind of minor side character.
And it's interesting too. I'm curious more about because Nifty's soul is owned by Alastor, which is something that they give you in the pilot, but not really in the series. So I'm curious if Nifty has some kind of weird backstory, because Alastor is fond of Nifty.
We could get a lot more into Nifty if they wanted to. I think it's like the type of character that if you get more into her, does the appeal just kind of go away? She's just like a fun presence.
I think she's supposed to be like a very surface level character, and that's how they presented her throughout the entire season. And honestly, I think it would be interesting to know how she came under Alastor's command, but I don't want to know much more than that, because I think that would kind of ruin her character for me. I like her surface level.
I agree. I think she needs to sing though, but I agree. She can say she can get a number, as she likes doing stuff with roaches.
Maybe she could be like the secondary vocals for like an Alastor song. So
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay,
where he's revealing his evil plan. I don't know.
And there's more after that in the finale. I mean, we talked about, but let's go through the songs, because after that is the finale song. So we've already talked about a lot of the songs, unless there's I mean, I was going to go through their songs for the side characters anyway. So I think we've basically talked about everyone, honestly, at this point. But
yeah,
all the songs, April,
all of them.
The soundtrack's amazing. 16 songs.
Love it.
So Happy Day in Hell.
Good one. Very good one.
I love Charlie songs. It's a great Charlie song. Great other random character contributions. I appreciated more that this, on second viewing, this sets up Hell. They mention the cannibal town stuff with Vox. So I think they're also like setting all the locations and Hell up and stuff, some of which we meet during the season.
Her brief knowledge of like the V's and everything else. So and she's just like running down the street. My favorite is the beginning of that song, is whenever like Vaggie's like oh no, is she singing? And like and she's like, no, Charlie, where'd she go? And he's like, oh, that bitch is already halfway down the street. And she's like, oh no, is she? And he's like, yep, she's dancing.
Yeah, that's good. There's great background stuff. I love the blob guy who's like, touch my parts.
And she's like, no, thank you. And
No,
then, like,
yeah.
she sings her thing, and he's like, you're lost, bitch. And I was like,
Yeah, you get that on the. I feel like that's not on the soundtrack version. I don't know. That guy cracks me up for some reason every single time I listen. I love Happy Day in Hell. It's one of my favorites. Hell is Forever. We get the Happy Day in Hell continuation with Charlie's pitch, and then we get Adam's response with the Hell is Forever.
Yeah.
Which honestly, good song, Adam.
Good song. Good Adam song. Like,
he's like, guitar solo. Yeah. Like,
he says it.
Great encapsulation of Adam. It's a good song, and we bring it back. Yes, very strong episode 1, I feel like, with the songs. We get Stayed Gone with Vox and then Alastor.
I really enjoy that song.
Their rivalry, and then Alastor being back in their past together and stuff. Yeah.
Well, and I was gonna say, I love the and maybe this is just me, but I love like how there's always like that constant like video versus like radio kind of battle, and I love
Definitely
that we have it in Hell too.
Yeah, the pivot to video is a great line in the song.
And I love that Alastor makes it a point. He's just like, oh, your video podcast thing.
Yeah, look, as an audio-only podcast, we are clearly Team Alastor here.
Obviously. And not just because
you see no video for this podcast.
Yeah, not just because he's the creepy bad guy, which we also love, but...
he's cool, but regardless would be Team Alastor.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It starts with Sorry, a little song about... Charlie forgiving Penchus and for being a spy for Vox. I completely forgot about that plot line until I rewatched, by the way.
It's so sad, but I feel like that's one of the more like forgettable songs, but it's like also very simple too. Like it's sorry. And I'm like,
you're
okay.
right. It is that and Welcome to Heaven, one of the shorter, simpler songs. I agree, but I like it though. And Penchus just cracks me up with his singing. His voice is really good. I think his voice is really great in the series. For the most part, the voice actors sound the same, the new voice actors, because they redid all the voice actors from the pilot.
Yeah.
For the most part, the new ones just sound the same as the pilot. I think Sir Penchus they improve him a little bit, maybe a few other characters. I really like his Alex Brightman as him. Yeah. That being said, we love all the original pilot voice actors. They were all amazing.
Yeah. All of the voice actors across the board are all amazing.
The new ones are amazing. The old ones are amazing. It's kind of weird that they just change everyone, but that's how it be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to like, I say a larger production, like what this became.
They try to get marketable people.
Well, but I do appreciate that they used a lot of unknown names, and then I like that they dug into like Broadway people.
Yeah, I think the unknown names are like very minor Broadway people. I feel like, or newer people. But yeah, definitely like all the side characters are like all Broadway people. It's great. So I mean, like anyone can sing here, but even people that haven't sung yet.
I was gonna say, and I know we're jumping ahead, but like Mimsy. I love that she's...
Mimsy is Sarah Stiles.
Yes! I loved it.
Who is Spinell in Steven Universe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, look, I've seen some Mimsy hate out there. Mimsy can do no wrong because she's Spinell, okay? In my eyes.
No, nothing. She's just existing. It's fine.
We'll get to that post.
But Respectless, another good one.
Velvet, kind of rapping, British accent rapping type of thing, versus Carmilla because of their Overlord meeting.
Yeah.
About whether to like take the fight to the Angels.
I like that there's the similarity too between Velvet and Carmilla's song and the Stayed Gone, where we're talking about new versus old. Mm-hmm. Which seems to be like another. If there was like any type of like overarching theme, new versus old is that sometimes new ways are better versus like continuing with the same old. So I kind of like that that's like a continued theme, especially with the V's, because they seem to be pushing new agenda versus like keeping with the old, like what we've been doing for thousands of years kind of situation.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the V's are presented as bad guys. So I wonder if any of their points will be seen as valid. So maybe not Valentino, but there's definitely a difference between Valentino, who's just like abusive, horrible person, compared to like Vox and Velvet are ultimately fun. I think Valentino's supposed to be fun too, to some extent. Just I love his voice and I love the moth wings, but there's not a lot of fun there otherwise.
No.
I do like he eggs on in Stayed Gone. He eggs on Vox. That's fun too.
Yes.
So there, yeah, I think there's some stuff there. I think Respectless is a great song, even though not too consequential overall. Whatever It Takes, ballad of Carmilla, and then also Vaggie, kind of separately about wanting to protect their people.
Which then comes around again in Out for Love.
In Out for Love. Interestingly, Carmilla and Vaggie haven't met each other at this point, I don't think, but the song pairs them together thematically, which then pays off later. So really, Carmilla and Vaggie were thematically paired together the entire season, even though they haven't met, which is something you can do with songs, which is why it's like a genuine like narrative benefit to having.
Which is why
songs.
You should always pay attention to who is in what songs and what they're saying.
Yeah, definitely. I love Whatever It Takes. This is one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I love Carmilla singing. I love this song.
Yeah.
Poison, Angel, about his like abusive relationship with Valentino, his relationship boss, whatever.
You get a little bit of backstory for Angel. And I like it differently from what's the other one? Addict, that they like released before or whatever. It's kind of a different, it's like not the same, but it's more Angel focused, which I enjoyed.
Nice. Yeah. It's a good. The visuals are really good too for Poison. Loser Baby we talked about.
Favorite.
Husk to Angel about how they're similar. It's just really good. So episode 4. What do you think of episode 4? Is it one of your favorites?
Yes. It is one of my favorites. It's a hard episode to watch though.
Yeah, the first half for sure. And then the second half we get into Loser Baby and it's a lot more fun. My thought on everything with episode 4, which encapsulates Loser Baby as well, is it's very purposefully tropey / trite. I feel like it's, April, you know this better than me, but I feel like it's purposefully evocative of like a 50s or something movie with like a prostitute as a main character, prostitute with a heart of gold. Like I feel like everything we're doing with Angel in that episode is like ripped from the pages of an old movie.
Kind of, yeah. And I will say that I love Angel's character, even though it's something that we've kind of seen a lot of times over. And
that's what I'm saying is it's kind of like I think they're doing that on purpose. The twist with Angel though is that he's a gay guy, not a woman, right? That's kind of the difference here.
Yeah, well, yes and no, because there's that sort of situation does show up a lot in some, like, and I can't think of any specific examples, so if you want to get mad at me, you're more than welcome to. But it's also like a theme with like gay characters as well, is because like sometimes their situation is just so bad that they have to turn to an even worse situation in order for it to quote unquote get better. So
yeah, it's like self-destructive to try to get out of the situation. Yeah.
Like, and you like in order to survive, you have to be self-destructive, even though you're kind of like it's the, you know what I mean? Like it's not, they're opposites. It's a double-sided sword. So in the yeah, I like it. And even though it is very his story is very violent and graphic, I don't know, it just plays so well with like his character in terms of like getting to know one of the V's, because you already get like the illusion that Valentino is abusive to some extent, but like you get the full extent of it, and like even like Lucifer's daughter, you know, like has no control over the situation, so it seems very honest. It's like a very honest bad situation.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that there's a lot of truth in the, like with Loser, like when we get into Loser Baby, because oftentimes when people are in those situations, they feel alone and they feel like they're the only one who's dealing with it or can deal with it. And so I like the like culmination of those two songs in the same episode together. And I think that
Nice.
it gives Angel a leg to stand on in later in episode 6. So
Yeah, and I agree with all that, and it's develops the relationship between Husk and Angel, and Husk and relating to Angel. It's wonderful. And we continue that. There's a moment in the finale with them and everything.
yeah.
Are April?
Yes.
Important question. Are we shipping Husk and Angel?
No.
You like them as the platonic song of Loser Baby. Definitely people ship them though. I've seen this.
I can see that. I think it would be a valid ship. I just think me personally, I think there's something more in like a platonic relationship versus a like gay situation, not a situation, but a gay relationship between the two of them. Especially because we have no indication as to what, not that we need to know Husk's like sexual orientation, but maybe if they were just like, oh yeah, Husk is gay, and that was like made known, like I might be more inclined to ship them. But I like the friendship, and who knows, maybe I could be
Okay,
wrong.
here's that. Okay, Loser Baby lyrics. Husk says, "You're a power bottom at rock bottom, but you've got company." To Angel.
So is Husk also a power bottom?
That's my question. Do you have company at rock bottom or in being a power bottom or both? So that would be the evidence for Husk being gay.
I took it as like Husk is like, you have company in rock bottom. Not
I think I agree.
Yeah.
It's there though. I think it's maybe intentionally supposed to be ambiguous if they could be together.
Yeah. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm not like, if they end up together, I'm not going to be upset, but I'm not giving too much into a relationship that I don't see like being I don't know what I'm trying to say. I can't put it into words.
Look, we're starting. I don't think they're together right now. We're starting off their developing this friendship that they can relate to each other. Whether it goes to anything later or not, it's still wonderful.
Yeah. And I think the other important part about it is because Husk has been more of he's been voluntold into this situation. And so
into going after him, but it seems like eventually he starts liking
just being at the hotel. Like
that is true too.
And that's,
but again, also that eventually I think he likes it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that this is like that turning point, right? Because he's just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. Because in the pilot, and this is something else, again, I think we've touched on it earlier, is that you learn that Nifty and Husker are brought there by Alastor, not voluntarily. They're forced to be there.
Which we say that a bunch with Husk here as well.
Yeah. So so it's an interesting turning point for Husk, even though he's like I say main-ish character, like secondary. Like for him to have that type of character development, to have grown fond of his fellow residents. So this is like that starting point for me, for them. So nice. not just his relationship with Angel, but with the hotel in general.
Yeah. Loser Baby, just so good.
Yeah. Great song. I sing it around the apartment.
You're a loser, baby, a loser, goddamn baby. Oh yeah. It's good. We were in sync on that one.
Yep.
It's such a good duet. Like I said, even though like the content of the song is like I feel like it's ripped out of an old movie.
Yeah.
Like Prostitute with Heart of Gold and a guy who like relates to her something at rock bottom too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not revolutionary. It's just so well executed, musically incredible, just amazing with the singers.
I feel like it's like a musical trope. Almost like to have that sort of stylistic song, because even then afterwards we get into like that mobster gunfight, like mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, this is reminiscent of this whole situation.
Yeah, the whole episode, but and the song plays into it, but it's just so brilliant. Yeah. I'm gonna say best song. I think it's the best song.
It's my favorite song, absolutely.
Love it. Okay, more good ones though in episode 5, Hell's Greatest Dad.
That's my favorite Alastor song.
You've Lucifer and then Alastor competing to be a father figure to Charlie.
Parental figure.
Yeah, it's a very fun song.
But it's very telling. I say telling because we still don't know, but it's very telling as to like Alastor's intentions. Like he feels genuinely threatened by Lucifer in terms of his relationship with Charlie.
Yeah, or he wants Lucifer to feel threatened by him, so he's egging him on.
Yeah.
Which could indicate he wants to go after Lucifer. Or not maybe directly, but that sort of big power ambitions.
Yeah.
But, it's funny that he's not really presented as a dad to Charlie until this song, but he's like, actually, aren't I your dad in a way? And Charlie's like, yeah, you kind of
She's
are.
like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, you weren't considering it up until this point, until someone told you.
It's like, yeah, kind of checks out. And then Mimsy comes in at the end of the song.
Best introduction of a character. Mimsy, and like, it's Mimsy!
Yeah.
And Lucifer's like, who?
And it really has nothing to do with this song at all.
Nothing at all. Like, totally out of left field, but great. And yeah, I love that we have Lucifer playing the fiddle in this song. It's one of my favorite parts.
It's good. Feels like a fiddle, like a face-off fiddle battle type of thing.
Well, it's like he's trying to introduce one too, and Alastor's like, I'm gonna play the piano.
Yeah, they have their own styles.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe definitely one of the most fun songs, Hell's Greatest Dad.
Yeah.
More than anything, also in this episode, Lucifer and Charlie, they get on the same page about Lucifer supporting Charlie's dream and their history together. I think this is such a beautiful song.
It's so beautiful, which is why I love that it gets brought back up just before
and it's
the
like
Charlie
brought back,
and Vaggie kiss.
And it's love in a different way in that song. This is one of my favorites too. One of my top songs more than anything.
Yeah.
It's great for their relationship. Beautiful duet. Really love it.
Yeah.
Episode 6, we talked about Welcome to Heaven, St. Peter,
least favorite
and then Emily
song.
and Sarah. It's fun. It's fun. You don't like Darren Criss singing? That's good.
I do like the singing. It's just, I think it's more of like the musical genre. Like they go for like this pop kind of thing, and I'm like, oh, I don't really enjoy pop music that much. So
like a church choir kind of thing almost.
Kind of. It's like gospel pop, and I'm like,
gospel-y, yeah.
I'm like, I'm not here for this.
I like it, but it's great because it's very like heaven, so amazing, aren't we amazing? And then you see the dark, start to see the dark side of it.
Yeah, so it's another one of those like telling songs, and there's more in it than you think there is, just because you get this like idea of the attitude that heaven has about itself, which helps lend more insight to like the characters that we deal with, or actually deal with.
St. Peter, I feel like, is the only non-seraphim, non-exorcist angel, heaven resident that we even see this season.
Yeah, because we like see other people, but we don't interact with them. They're just...
So I feel like St. Peter and his cohorts, the just non-seraphim angels, easy way to expand the heaven lore, meeting more of them next season. I think it'll be really interesting if we get more of heaven and learn more about like the culture of the world. If I had to guess, though, I think season 2 continues to set up heaven, but doesn't bring everything we're talking about with Sarah to a head. And I think the Voxes are the V's are the main villains of season 2, and we deal with hell stuff. And then season 3 would be we go back to heaven in a major way, and then bring everything to a head here. I was gonna say, if I had to predict something, I feel like season 2 we're gonna be spending the vast majority of our time in hell and dealing with that situation, because like the angels are so quote unquote lost. We don't have another execution, so they might just be regrouping for a while. Yeah, and I think that if we do get any heaven, like I think it would be fun that if we do get any heaven, it's kind of like Sir Pentious
in him, like them finding his place there. You know what I mean? Like discussing that. But if
Yes,
anything,
yeah, we have to see Serpentis, yeah.
yeah, but if anything, we're not going to see anything of Heaven and probably until the end of the season, which they'll come back in a big way as a huge threat after we've dealt with
Yeah.
whatever we decide to deal with in Hell.
Yeah, look, we say this, and this is what would make sense for a normal show, but
Yeah.
Hasbin, for this next song, did move so quickly, so who knows? Everything could happen in season 2.
Yeah, you didn't know hit me. Like
You didn't know. So let's go over what we go through and you didn't know. Discord, in general, Discord between Emily and Sarah about the proof of the angel redemption. Adam and Lute reveal the extermination to everyone, which again, they, like 5 minutes before, like Sarah says to Adam, like deal with this, keep it a secret.
Yeah.
We just reveal it. And same with Adam tells Charlie about Vaggie being an angel.
Yep.
Like right before this, Adam confronts Charlie and it comes to a head, same episode. In general, I love not keeping secrets past an episode. I think that's a very frequent annoying plot device, secrets hanging over characters.
Yeah.
So this show says, nuh-uh, we're revealing these right away, these secrets. Everything's coming out here immediately.
I think that's something that I very much enjoyed that this show has done, is that like these sort of like secret in like struggles of between characters get resolved quickly. Like even like between Charlie and Vaggie after finding out she's an angel, it's resolved by the end of like we get the reveal at the end of episode 6.
And then we deal with it in a
character
wise next episode.
Like
yeah.
I'm like, this is great. I love that we have dealt with this like so quickly and we've reached a reasonable resolution. Which is why again, like this song is wonderful. So
It's also just actually a really good song. Like it's overwhelming, but it's really good. I think like the Adam revealing Vaggie is a little discordant, which it's supposed to be at the end for me in terms of like listening as a soundtrack. Like I might prefer to pause before that part, similar to how you might prefer to pause before Mimsy comes in Hell's Greatest Dad. But
I was gonna say, but it's also like Adam revealing the extermination is like, one, it's so very telling of Adam, but then for him to, after making that mistake, he's like, you know what, I want to shift the blame a little bit, and I'm going to reveal that Vaggie is actually an angel, because I don't want everyone to be mad at me.
That's true. That's a good point about his methods here. And then we have the climax of the song, Charlie and Emily. Like Emily goes down to Charlie and stands up to Sarah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I loved it. I love the united front. Their voices go so well together. They harmonize very well.
Yeah. Okay, here's my pitch. Season 2, episode 3 or 2. Emily goes down to heaven on her own, secretly away from to hell.
Yes.
Secretly away from Sarah, just so she can talk with Charlie about what she doesn't like about what's going on, and they kind of talk, and then Vaggie gets jealous of the two of them talking. There's so much there. I feel like bring Emily to hell.
I want it to be like one of those situations where like how whenever Lucifer's coming to the hotel and they're like, all right, you guys, we got an hour until showtime, like we gotta clean this shit up.
Yeah, they have to clean it up for
and
Emily,
so I want it to be one of those situations where like Emily reaches out to Lucifer because she doesn't have a way to reach out to Charlie, and so she's like, hey Lucifer, I want to come down there. And Lucifer's like, okay. And then he goes to Charlie and he's like, hey, Emily's coming down. And they're like back into like, oh shit, clean everything up. Like, like get rid of all this fuckery kind of situation. This
fuckery.
And then Emily still comes down and she's just like, this is it? Like horrified.
Yeah. Honestly, it could be the premiere. It would be a great way to introduce the current status of the hotel in season 2.
I think it would be a really good premiere because then we're, again, in the spirit of, I say solving or immediately addressing things.
And it's if Emily gives the update on Serpentis and Heaven, and immediately address, and we maybe set up Charlie and Emily are going to be secretly in communication throughout the entire season.
Yes.
Without Sarah knowing, maybe there's a plot twist later. Sarah does know actually all along.
Or even just that maybe they're not constantly in communication throughout the season, but like Emily, it's like one of those things where like Emily lets Charlie know like, hey, this happened with Serpentis. I'll let you know if this creates any type of further development. And then that gives us the excuse to not have to step into heaven until like the consequences of Serpentius making it into heaven like come to a head, and we have to kind of address it again, and heaven reintroduces itself back into the plot or the story. And then we can spend the season dealing with hell without having to worry about heaven.
I like where we're at with this. I like this plan.
Yeah. I think, and again, it works in with the story or the show thus far, immediately addressing things, and that's what I would like.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I like it immediately addressing stuff, continuing to do that. Yeah. Again, though, that being said, I feel like season 1 was so unpredictable. So us trying to plan out the next episode is a fool's errand.
Well, okay, yes, but we also have more ammunition now.
We know what the show is now.
Like we know.
Honestly, I feel like until episode 6, we didn't really know what was going on in the show.
Yes, and that's why like you didn't know is such a big number. Because it's literally it's like, hey, you guys didn't know this. Like, not just you, the characters of the show, but you as the audience didn't know anything.
That's funny. Yeah.
But
by the way, we talk about you didn't know moves plot very fast. Before that, episode 5, they're like, it's been 5 months since episode 1. Did you catch that?
Okay, yes, I did. I caught that.
5 months in between episodes 1 and 5 of the season.
I caught that. But it didn't hit me until Adam said 1 month. And I was like, wait, did we move? Oh, yeah,
because we had a 6-month deadline, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, did we move the extermination up? And then, but also when Charlie is talking to Lucifer, she's like, I told you 5 months ago.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
And I was like...
It's wild. That's 5 months.
So
I mean, it makes sense because generally episodes 1 to 4 are like... building the team, camaraderie, the redemption. So there could have just been a lot more of that type of thing. I think it works.
Yeah.
But it's shocking.
It's shocking, but now that I have an understanding as to how time is moving through these, like, I mean, obviously, like, I guess, like, episode 7 is the amount of a month, right? So, like, they spend a month preparing, and then episode 8 is the end of the 6 months or whatever. But yeah, I was like, this whole season takes place over 6 months. It's like learning that Miraculous Ladybug has only been like a year. And
it's only been a year and 5 seasons. That's the exact opposite of the show. That's why we love this show so much. It's like cathartic compared to Ladybug.
Yeah.
Ladybug has kept its secret for 5 seasons. We don't get the identity reveal, but here we get things come out immediately. It's great. It's
been 6 months. Like we have a firm grasp of what the timeline has been. Like
we love it. Okay. Episode 7, Out for Love. Carmilla shows Vaggie how to fight for the people you love. I love this song.
Yeah. I also love that we really like drive it home that like Carmilla's like, you don't even know what kills you, like.
Yeah, that's good, and it's just a great type of thing where they start off fighting and then they turn into like dance fighting.
Yes,
during the
and
song.
It's like synchronized, and they're not like They're not like fighting. It's like a preparation kind of thing.
Preparation, yeah, and a great use of a musical number.
Yes.
Yeah, really love that. Ready for this, as we mentioned. Starts off Charlie about stepping up as a leader. Then it's like her convincing the cannibals to come fight with them.
Yes.
And we get the cannibals singing for part of it. And we also have Alastor and Rosie talking about Charlie. I
also love Susan.
And Susan. Shout out Susan.
Shout out to Susan.
I love episode 7 that it's like, okay, we're going to do the thing where we have the final battle in the season finale.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crap. We need an army.
Yeah.
Actually, let's just do this all army thing in one episode. Again, the show moving very fast. Like, we just procure an army. It doesn't really matter that the cannibals are there in the finale, but you need to have an army for the battle to work. So, like, lots of shows do this. I feel like this was one of the more seamless ways of gaining an army.
Like, yeah. Well, and, like, it's one of those where, like, you're gaining an army, but it's not a complicated complicated situation. It's like, hey, we've got a bunch of cannibals who want to eat angels. Done.
That's really it. And you just need to show some ounce of charisma to convince them. And that's it.
We get like pieces of that, and you're like, great, like we're still doing this. Just because you need everyone else to be occupied while the main characters are doing their thing.
Yeah, this is a good song, another good Charlie song. It's one of the songs that does a lot of things, and I'm like, oh, I kind of wish the first part with Charlie was the whole song, but it's a lot of like very extensive, because the show moves the plot with the songs. Yes. Like, so I like that. I like that there's a lot going on.
I also really enjoy that we emphasize that Charlie is her most self when she's singing, because at the beginning of her trying to rally the cannibals, she's just talking to them, and she doesn't get anywhere when she just talks to people. But when she sings her feelings or what her idea is when people are most like inspired and moved. And this song, like, they call it out specifically. Like, Rosie's like, well, when you're normally pitching your ideas, what are, like, how is it most successful? And she's like, oh, when I'm singing. And she's like, okay, we'll do that. Like, no one says the cannibals aren't going to enjoy a nice, tune.
Apparently they do enjoy a nice tune.
They love a good tune.
So are the cannibals, were they all cannibals on Earth and that's why they're in hell? Or do some people just come to hell and then they're like, oh, why not be a cannibal while I'm in hell? No,
I think that's like a very
There's that many cannibals?
There's a very specific faction of cannibals.
I feel like because Charlie presents it as like this whole section of hell in the beginning. It seems like a major. I think people just die and decide to become cannibals.
Maybe. I mean, I think it could go both ways. Like, if you're a cannibal, you automatically go to Cannibal Town. But then, like, let's say you're down there.
You could choose to move in. Yeah, it's nice here.
And then, like, well, and I think that's why the like character designs are important, because, like we pointed out earlier, that Angel is like under Valentino's command, and his his body design is similar to that of Valentino, whereas like the cannibals all have a very similar like character design to Rosie, who's the overlord of Cannibal Town. So I think that like it's like, oh, once you've sold your soul to whichever overlord, you take on like those quote unquote characteristics, if that makes sense.
I like that analysis or theory or whatever. Yeah, I like it. That's a good song though. More than anything, reprise in the finale. We talked about Charlie and Vaggie. They say they love each other. They kiss. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's not a romantic song, but in episode 5, but it's about love. And I like that it's like different forms of like love.
Yeah. Because love exists in multiple forms. It can be, it can be like paternal. It can be romantic. It can be platonic. So
I like it. And then the finale song.
Yep.
So let's run through it. So Charlie starts off singing about Penchus, like his sacrifice and the events of the finale.
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer brings in the Happy Day in Hell reprise, talking about how much Charlie's accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about building back up the hotel, and they do build back up the hotel.
Yep.
The V's are happy that Alastor is gone.
Yep.
They're celebrating. Alastor is regrouping somewhere.
Yes.
And he's going to take over once he figures out how to unclip his wings.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone is back, and Alastor comes back, and they're building except Penchus, I guess, and they're building back the hotel together to Happy Day in Hell kind of reprise there.
Yeah. But with, like, obviously different lyrics. So.
Yeah. Really good. I love very musically ending it, advancing the plot. All of this is probably taking place over a long time. Again, a great use of a musical number.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different character motivations, checking in on everyone, setting stuff up for the finale. Just another really great song here at the end.
Yeah. And it's another strong song too, because it builds on a lot of the things that we've been working through. It also kind of offers that nice little like recap of season 1 sort of situation and where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a great way to set up. A song's a great way to end the season and set up the next season.
Yeah.
Okay. Ultimately, favorite songs. My favorite songs: "Loser Baby,"
yep.
"Whatever It Takes," "Happy Day in Hell," "Out for Love." Both Carmilla songs in there. Also, More Than Anything and Hell's Greatest Dad also.
Okay. Loser Baby, Hell's Greatest Dad, Poison, really, really enjoy that. More Than Anything, and I think Happy Day in Hell is, but not my least favorite. Obviously, we talked about that one.
And look, all very, very strong soundtrack here.
Yeah.
Love consistently getting 2 songs an episode. Very exciting. We're gonna get another season of this. Hopefully more seasons, but
yeah,
it's not a great landscape for more than 2 seasons currently. But I will say that at various points this was number 1 on Amazon Prime's top 10.
It's been pretty consistent in the top 10, I think. So
yeah, no, it was ahead of new shows like this. So
I was gonna say when I was watching earlier, it was number 2 again. So
yeah, isn't it? But not, yeah. So hopefully good news for this, but we will see. Favorite episodes, April.
Favorite episode. I didn't think about this. I
actually think the first episode's really good. I think that's one of the best episodes.
I think the first episode's really good. The Heaven episode 6.
Episode 6. I think that's probably
strong.
I think that's my pick for best episode 6.
Yeah, I would say episode 6 is probably one of the best episodes. The first episode,
the finale, I think is really up there.
Yeah. And I think on it, like, episode 4 is so powerful.
And episode
too.
4, those are my 4. 1, 4, 6, 8.
I would say mine would be 6.
Not in that order.
Oh,
not in that order.
I was gonna put them in order.
Okay, what's your order?
I'm a monster.
You're a demon?
Yes.
Okay, what demon would you be? What animal?
Oh, what animal? Do I have to be an animal?
You could be a cannibal instead. You could be.
I could be a cannibal. I don't know if I have the stomach to be a cannibal.
You could be an overlord.
I would look if we're honest.
Can people with IBS become cannibals in hell? Does that?
I don't know if I have the stomach for that. Both physically and mentally.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
No. Episode 6. Then I would put episode 1, then episode 4, and then the finale would be like my 4th pick.
I'll go 6, 8, 1, 4.
Ooh, okay.
But like, look, 2, and I think probably like 2 and 3 are like the quote unquote weakest ones, but they're really good too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that 3's pretty weak for me. But
I think I will say the Overlord meeting, I think it's a better rewatch because you kind of know the landscape more, and it's kind of fun seeing all those people there. I just really like the whatever it takes there. Both songs are good, but it's taking it's a little bit to get going.
I was gonna say the music's really good. It's just that in terms of like the episode overall, like 2 and 3 are absolutely the weakest. I mean,
still good. 5's really good, and 7's good too.
I would put 5 and 7 on the same platform because
they're good too. By the way, shout out Egg Boys, Serpentis' Egg Boys.
What happened to Frank?
One of them got killed, it seemed like, in the finale.
Yeah. Well, my favorite. Okay, so I love that. Like, oh no, there's Frank, and they're like, do we have names? Because there's numbers written on the back of them.
Oh, it's fun. So in the pilot, their big line is, "I wish he would shoot me with his ray gun."
Yeah.
I don't think they have as good of a line as that in the whole show, but there's still some fun stuff.
No. The line about the banks is really because.
Oh yeah, they say crazy shit all the time.
And then they immediately follow up with like banking accounts.
The shadow government. Yeah, it's good. That's good. The other standout line I feel like from the pilot was the okay, daddy, son from Serpentis.
Yes,
like
son.
So that was really funny. What was the funniest moment from the show? Does it live up to that funny moment? I really like again Serpentis. He's just one of the funniest characters. Would you do a sex with me?
Would you do a sex with me?
Having sex with everyone here. That's one of my top ones.
Serpentis made me he gave me like Ludo vibes, hardcore throughout the whole show. From like Ludo from Star versus Forces
I
of
like
Evil,
that.
like
I like that.
hardcore Ludo vibes the entire time. I was like, oh, this poor sweet villainous idiot. Like,
I like that a lot. By the way, speaking of Star vs. Force of Evil, this show still, I think we said it during the pilot, this show is still Star Butterfly is the Princess of Hell.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like we got the blonde hair, and this is what happens when Star Butterfly dies. She becomes Charlie.
That's exactly. I was talking to Sarah about this. Sarah's analysis with Charlie is like, at least to some extent, was that this she's an enthusiastic kind of female lead, but that was like more like new when the pilot came out. But at this point, I feel like there's a lot of this type of lead in shows.
Yeah.
So that I agree with that, and I feel like it comes from the Genki girl trope from anime. It's like peppy girls, like from around like 2010s anime leads, peppy girls, and it is very familiar at this point. It's kind of made its way over to Western animation. There's a lot of peppy leads.
Yeah.
That being said, I still feel like Charlie's the perfect lead for this show because it's set in hell. So having the contrast with the peppy character who's enthusiastic about changing everything, I still think, even though we've seen a lot of Charlies recently, I still think she's the perfect one to lead the show.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think that the fact that she has like the band of characters around her really like helps her almost stand out in terms of like the peppy girl lead. Like obviously like Vaggie's, you know, that brooding kind of like counterpart to her, so opposites attract kind of thing. But the rest of the characters too, I think they lend to just Charlie's character, and they emphasize the fact that she's like this, she's such a good girl, and she's the princess of hell. So which makes moments like in episode 8 where she goes into like this demon form like all that more exciting. So I hope we kind of see more of that demonic side of Charlie.
Dark Star arc. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that. But
we wanted it.
Yeah, I want it. Can we have this here? But the same can be said about Lucifer too, because he's never like a bad guy in the show. So I think that's it's an interesting character choice for both of them, because these, like, they're the highest ranking people in hell, and they're not bad people. Like, Charlie's not out in the streets just mindlessly murdering people. Like, Lucifer's just sitting there toying with ducks, like rubber ducks for whatever reason. So
yeah, the show's position is kind of made clear. Lucifer's not the demonicized figure that heaven makes him out to be. Yeah, well, and Adam says something to that too. He's like, dude, you're like the most hated person in the world. And Lucifer's like, okay, like, am I? Yeah,
I don't know why.
Clearly propaganda from heven.
Yeah, which again lends to the whole like manufactured thread.
Yep. I think it's good analysis, but it's like what the show's going for. I feel like I think it says a lot of depth here. Random, but the animal companion characters, I feel like we've not mentioned some of. Kiki is the cat's name. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I think they say it once.
I don't know that I ever heard it. And Razzle and Dazzle,
barely heard of
them either.
But they're very prominent in the finale. Fat Nuggets, though.
Fat Nuggets. The only reason why Fat Nuggets stood out in my mind is because he looks exactly like the pig from Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls, yeah.
Yes. So it looks exactly like that pig, and that's the only reason why.
Waddles.
Yeah. So that's the only reason why I remembered Fat Nuggets.
Look, Waddles is big shoes to fill for Fat Nuggets, but we do love Fat Nuggets.
I do like Fat, and I love that Fat Nuggets is Angel Dust's pet.
Yeah, I think in 4 or whenever Angel Dust calls him that, it's fine.
Yeah.
The show just really not interested in like making clear exactly who some people are. I mean, especially the animals. It's like, okay, they're there.
Like we have pet animals, but then we also have humanoid animals. So.
Yeah, I don't really understand how the animals are in hell. Do all animals go to the afterlife?
Do you turn into an animal whenever you
Is there a reincarnation thing going on? I assume not.
I don't think so. Do you just...
That would be an interesting twist.
But I do think that that also lends to the theory of like whenever your soul gets owned by an overlord, that you take on their characteristics, because it seems like there's just a lot of demons or whatever
of similar types.
But then like the only ones that, like, for instance, like all of the animal ones, I mean, we can only assume that they don't belong to an overlord, and not all overlords have souls that they like own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we need to keep building this, but I think there's something there. I think there's I don't know if the show has the. And my question is, does the show have the logic that you're talking about built in, or do we not?
Am I giving it the logic?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I pivoted, but any other funny moments that you want to shout out from the episodes?
I really enjoyed during the trust episode how Vaggie's like. I guess Angel Dust at some point is just like, oh, I know how we can build each other's trust, and he sets up a whole BDSM.
Yeah, that's good.
And he's like, and that's like their whatchamacallit, their motto is like, you have to have trust if you're gonna do BDSM. I was like, okay, I respect that.
That's good, yeah. Yeah, a lot of Charlie's reactions to inappropriate things are pretty good.
Again, such a good girl.
Yes, but then she also like lashes out and curses when prompted.
Yes,
which is also always very funny. Yeah, and I think Adam. We talked about Adam's funny inappropriate lines, but I honestly think Adam's one of the funniest characters too.
Adam's a funny character. So there were moments where I was genuinely creeped out by Alastor, which I loved. I absolutely love that. When a character can creep me out.
They had some great stylistic creepy animation with him. I think at this point we're just going through our notes, by the way, which is why we're bouncing around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For the listeners. So, Alastor, any other Alastor things you want to shout out? Alastor, I lived up to the pilot Alastor. I think he was so good there, and he's great character this season.
I feel like I'm like being very stereotypical of myself, but Alastor is one of my favorite characters. I don't know what it is about me and villains. But I love them.
So you called Alastor a villain before. I wouldn't call him a villain. He's on the heroic side.
We don't know who exactly he is. So he might be like the anti-hero.
He's a potentially villainous presence in the form of currently functioning as a hero.
Yes.
But it's not off the table that Alastor's like twist the big bad of the show.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he's very much, I say he's the villain because within the world, he is very much feared. And
he slaughtered a bunch of people to gain his notoriety.
And would air it on the radio, like
pretty effed up.
Yeah, that's some dark shit. So but again, I love his like what they did with his character design to emphasize, like, even though like, yeah, he's quote unquote playing good guy, like he has more self-serving intentions, and they like do it with like his shadow work, and like whenever he's being menacing, I loved how the animation would sort of glitch out. That was like, those were like some of my favorite moments with Alastor.
Nice, yeah, definitely. I think I have hit on most of the things in my notes. April, what else have you got? What else do you have there?
I like the very simple list of what it takes to get into heaven.
Yes, that's good.
That's some good moments for me. And I talked about Susan. Love her. She's so annoying. That's most of what I have.
Oh, I have something. Lilith. So we talked about Lilith.
Yeah.
Will Eve be a character in this show?
Okay, so that's something that I wrote down in my notes that I just read. I love how Lucifer taunted Adam during their fight.
Yeah, Lucifer implies that he was with Eve as well, in addition to Lilith.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, which again makes sense. Like, again, that like lends to the point where not many people know that like Lilith and Adam were like a thing, and then because Lilith was the first woman. I love the story of Lilith, but But yeah, but I love that he was just like, oh, like your first wife, liked me, and your second one didn't mind me either. And I was just like, Eve with the apple, the snake.
Yeah. You might, is that implying Eve will be a presence in the show? It could be.
We haven't seen her.
No, we haven't.
So we don't know where she is, who she is, what she's doing. Maybe we do get Eve as like if we do spend any significant amount of time in heaven, I think that would be great to see Eve. And mostly just her being like, where's Adam? He's dead. I want her to be like a gold digger. Like, I want her to be the worst female ever. And she's just like, we need to bust out his will so I can inherit all of his heaven bucks. Like, I want her to
yeah, maybe now that Adam's dead, Eve will come. That's a good point.
I want her to show up in like a fur coat.
Heaven bucks. Okay, I like this evil Eve. I like
But I want her to be like ridiculous in the same sense that Adam was, but like the female version of it. So like maybe she's had a lot of face work done. Yeah, that's what I want from Eve if we get her.
I like it. Okay.
Oh, and I want Cherry Bomb to replace Serpentius in the hotel.
Yeah, will Cherry Bomb be staying at the hotel? I think that's very possible. She will be.
Yes.
Even though she didn't seem to care.
So
as of last time we checked in.
Well, and that's interesting which is why like anything that takes place before like the season actually started, I think of it separately because the Attic song has Cherry Bomb and it makes it very much seem like she's already a part of the hotel.
Okay, I think Attic might be not canon.
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
The pilot's canon. Pilot's canon.
Pilot's canon. I don't know about Addict, but like that's like sort of the tone of that song is that like it's like her.
I think she's got to stay at the hotel. She
has to now, like in honor of Serpentius.
Yeah, she'll be grieving him. Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably she won't be.
Probably not. Or she might be. I don't know.
We're gonna have to end.
She needs to redeem herself so she can get to heaven and get a taste of those two dicks. So.
Oh yeah, that was another great line.
I heard he has two dicks. What?
Did you hear that?
How did you hear that, sir?
Maybe Angel Penchus will have lost his edge for her.
Oh,
we'll see. I like Nifty always liking bad boys. That was a good get.
She loves bad. Yeah, and she gets really hype about Lucifer, like the ultimate bad boy.
I know, that's good. Yeah. Season 2, I'd like to see more Zestral. We talked about him. I think Zestral is really interesting presence. So he would be top of my Overlord list. There were 2 Overlords in episode 3 we did not really meet yet. So those could be. One of them was like an animal person, actually.
I feel, again, I know I brought up like Star versus the Forces of Evil earlier, but I feel like they're going to, like, those overlords that we haven't really met are going to be like the goofy overlords from like the magical.
What was it called in the council?
Yeah, the magical council. Like how, like.
Or the High Commission or whatever.
I don't remember. But yeah, so I feel like they're going to be like those characters. Like. Omnitraxis and stuff like that.
Yeah, how'd you pull Omnitraxis out? I mean, you're number 1 Star fan, but
actually,
who's the Carmilla is Hekapoo in this analogy.
Yeah, actually, I think I don't want to say something and then be wrong, but I feel like I saw that one of the cast members is another voice on this show.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking it up.
That'd be fun. Okay. Well, other than that, there's a lot of people I don't think I recognize, but anyway. Other than that, April, any final thoughts here? Anything we haven't hit on?
No, I feel like we hit on a lot of stuff, and I feel like I could continue to go on if you let me.
I know. No, honestly, like we have easy. Almost 2.5 hours, 2-person podcast on this. The show is just so much going on. There's a lot of depth. And we were clearly really excited to talk about everything.
Yeah. Well, whenever like I found out that it was coming to the table, or I say coming to the table, but being released, I was just like, like I marked it in my calendar. I was hyped for it. I was like, I am ready for this show, because I remember watching the pilot and just being so incredibly excited about it, and then like basically being let down. Like, I like pushed it aside because I was like, I'm not about to invest my my personality into a show that might not come to be.
It's here. It's here.
But
now.
it's here, so I will take that win. Keith David was Glossaric in Star vs. the Forces of Evil.
Oh, he was the new Glossaric voice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, that checks out. Yeah, overall, I feel like I said this in the beginning, I wasn't expecting this Hasbin to be like the new hype show that we love. Like, I feel like this is the number one show now. I know that there's, in terms of animation, I know that there's like Invincible and stuff. That doesn't feel like this like adventure show like Hasbin. Maybe Arcane feels that is also competing for that.
I love Arcane so
I don't know
much.
if I'd describe Arcane as like an adventure show like this, but it might be. I don't know.
I think the thing that makes this show stand out is that it is, I'm going to say it's an original idea. It's like, whereas like Arcane is based off of League of Legends, Invincible is based off of the Invincible comics. Like, so there's, we're very much living in a time where things are based off of other things.
Absolutely. There's almost no original adult animation properties.
Yes.
In the US. And almost none. This Pantheon is one. No, that's an adaptation too, actually. Yeah. But it's like barely.
Even like I say original shows like Rick and Morty Rick and Morty's still a very good show. Don't get me wrong, but it's not original anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's lost that like brand new appeal, if that makes sense. Like, it's an established thing at this point. And so
we recently had Scavenger's Reign, of course, and Carol and the End of the World, which we covered. So there's been a few recently. This has surprisingly been a good time for some great adult animated shows.
We're getting back into it. And
I hope so.
And the other thing is that like our generation, we grew up with a lot of these, we grew up with a lot of cartoons. And I say cartoons not as in terms of just like children's shows, but also like we grew up in a time of Adult Swim where there was a lot of adult animation then, be it, anime or even some of their original things. And so we're now coming into power with these studios and things. And so we're getting more footing. And this is the stuff that we grew up with and we liked, and it's coming back. So I can't wait to see more of what comes because of this sort of like move.
Nice. I like this optimistic outlook on.
Thanks.
There's a lot negative outlook on the animation industry, unfortunately, right now, but I like this optimistic viewpoint as well. Okay. Yes. Any last Hasbin thoughts? I think I'm out. I loved it. Looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm looking forward to season 2 as well. Just to echo you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Let us know all your comments. Hazbin Hotel. You can comment at overlyanimated.com. We cross post these to YouTube, youtube.com/overlyanimated. Yep. Find our social medias. You can consider supporting us via Patreon, which is the best way to support us at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Carter. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Steve, Michael, and Phoenician. Also shout out Needle, who has watched all these episodes multiple times, apparently. Yay! We love Needle. So we love people loving Hasbin. Love to see it.
Yeah.
I think that's all I got. Let us know if you like this, if you want to see more Hasbin coverage. Honestly, I got more hype about this than a show we've talked about in a long time, for reference. Maybe that's reflected in the podcast.
Look, I'll come back and start ranting about this again. I feel like I could go. It's one of those shows where it's really stuck with me, and I'll just be like, I told you earlier today, Dylan, that I was like at coffee with a friend and like thoughts would pop up and I would just like quickly make note of them in my phone, like rude as hell. But I was like, wait, I need to write this thought down.
We needed it. Yeah. Thank you for your dedication. Yeah, no, Sam, I've been thinking about it and it's got songs, so I'll continue to listen. And it was very rewatchable, by the way, with all the songs too. I think that could easily rewatch it again. Okay, that is it. Thank you guys very much for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.